think that I just come in there and look for knockouts, and that's not the case. You know, I'm actually a sharp, smart fighter.
So, well, wait, I'm here. Who wants to fight with me?
I really don't care who's in front of me. I don't feel like no fighter can beat me.
Welcome to Bodywork. Welcome back. It's Michael Rogers. Welcome to Bodywork Boxing. It feels so good to be back. How y'all doing out there? We not quite at hump day, but we're a few hours away. And I hope y'all having a wonderful week. Hope y'all are doing great things, you know. We've had some time to kind of let the beat build and, you know, let boxing breathe a little bit and take a step back, a look, a gander from a different angle and see what's really going on, man. And we've been keeping our ears to the ground, and I've been watching everything that's going on, man. And it's like my vision my vision is so clear when it comes to this boxing. It's just there are not a lot of people out here that are willing to just keep it a buck about a lot of things. And shout out to Cookie Monster. Bodywork. Mic check, 1 2 1 2, sounding crystal clear. Thank you, dear. Definitely appreciate that microphone checker. Microphone checker. Man, there's not a lot of people out here that's gonna keep it all the way funky about this boxing. It's just a level of accountability that we gotta have, which allows me to just do my thing. I read the tea leaves, I see what's going on, and I just come out and speak on what is going on. And there's some patterns that I'm more concerned about than everybody else. You know, it's not too hard to jump inside the algorithm and stay on the beaten path. It's not too hard to pull some drama out here. It's not too hard to give your favorite fighter a pass. You know, and a lot of people are doing that, man. People are really showing their true colors. I had already pegged this one major media channel in RACIST, man, and I'm seeing it. Yeah. And then we got some boondock characters out here to where it's like anything that PBC do, they got something bad or negative, like the slant. I'm like, but your mans in them, Turkey and them, they've been losing money and pretty much throwing money. Do you think Adrian Broner was doing? Like what he was doing to the money when he had it like that. Like, look at the money they was doing under the disguise of business. And we got to see some fights, yeah, but we didn't ask for a lot of that. These guys never took that angle, but the minute PBC come out, it's some negative thing about how Earl is not at home. It's like, but you don't care about Earl. You took a shot on Earl. Why do you care? Oh, well, Tim, it was this and that. I mean, it's just so much bull. But then I noticed that they do all that PBC hating when it comes to any announcement or whatever. They'll pick some funny, weird, stupid angle to cover the PBC, right? and then jump right back on the jock strap when it comes to David Benavidez. I'm like, oh, so is that what it is? Is that what it is? That what we doing? Is that how you tucking away? Yeah, but you've been exposed, bro. You've been exposed big time. I've seen it. I noticed it for years, and you be thinking, oh, because people who look like me be getting up on the panel and they be having their little segments. Pawns, I tell you. Pawns everywhere, and it's only a matter of time, and then it's like it never ceases to fail. As soon as they get out of line, off with their heads. This is Sparta! Like, that's what you be doing. I peeped it. That's why I would never give you the privilege to do that to me. Never ever going to get it. Never going to get it. Never going to get it. But I peep game, man, and I notice the little angles and the little things and the exceptions that you give to certain people, and people might be like, oh, but they really do, you know, they really like for Haney, pawn, and that represents a paycheck, man. Listen, let me try to tell you, man, if you got any affiliation where you getting paid, if some shape, form of, y'all remember The Price is Right? One of my favorite games was that Plinko, when they would start off up top. If up top is that's where the check coming, wherever you at down low, whatever minion you are, if you on your knees, if you flat on your back, showing all your tonsils, no matter what kind of supine position, no matter what kind of position you are at the bottom when the chip falls, if your check came from up there, we can't get no legit, honest, we can't. It's not even that we hating, it's like, oh, okay, you getting your money, little duffel bag boy. We ain't gonna make no noise about that. We understand, we get it. But don't try to step in the lane of us who out here trying to keep it, you know what I'm saying, all the way a buck so we can speak about them honest and have an honest conversation. I told y'all, man, when we seen Ward and all them and, you know, Tarver, he be in the mix, and Tim Bradley, he'll go get a check. And then, you know, you got Sergio Moore, all these guys, like, man, you are not going to get nothing but what the people who write the check says. So why are we acting like that? Why gaslight me? Don't gaslight me. You know what I'm saying? We've been tenured, the 300 been tenured. We see all that, man. It's like blood pressure don't even rise. We laugh. And guess what we do? We come right back on, we just keep it a buck and do the same old thing. And we say, listen to all of them. And then come in here and see how we get down. So we had to let it breathe. But now we about to whip the pot. Shout out to ASO Stain. Salute. And I got perhaps the best co-host on the planet in the building. Chef AC Hibachi is what I call him. What's good with you?
Man, what's good with you, bro? Good opening monologue, man. Yeah, this gonna be a real good one today. And man, hopefully it ruffles some feathers. Hopefully it ruffles feathers, and the ripple effect is that big that I see, you know, larger channels, much more, I would say, in the scale of where people sit as representatives of the sports, guys who have these big channels and stuff like that. Yeah, copy this one, please. Give a rebuttal to this one, please. I'm begging you. Because I just want to hear how you're gonna wipe the ass of what we're talking about. How you gonna wipe these dudes' ass? I mean, you're gonna bring out the Johnson baby powder, the baby wipes. You know what I'm saying? A whole new set of clothes, because this is a blowout you about to clean up, bro. I just want to see how you gonna handle it, and that's where I landed, bro. And I'm just excited about this cover.
That's what's up, man. Yeah, you know, in some shape, form, or fashion, you know, we just gonna do what we do. And hey, you know, not that we get inspired by these guys. I be laughing at these guys, but yeah, they, you know, it's about to be a clean up on aisle 9, please. I'm gonna go ahead and get into the housekeeping. Number 1, Big Fish Spence is back. 7/25/26. Oh, don't you say that. The Big Fish, I'm just happy that my man is in the right mindset. He took his time. You know, right before when my man's left him at the altar or whatever, and ran and got got him a avocado smoothie. I was making videos and I was gonna play it just because it's funny, I was gonna play it, but I ain't gonna do it. But I used to get a little animated and do my little things or whatever. But I didn't want people to think that I was a clown the way, or look at me the way I look at some of these clowns out here. But I did do it. And I was basically saying, man, listen, man, look at the landscape of boxing, Spence. Look at what everybody else is doing. We already know what's in your heart. You say, I ain't never fighting Keith Thurman, and goddamn, you standing on it. You know what I'm saying? You say, I don't take no tune-up, and you stand on it. But we got some feedback. Yeah, all right. So I was doing that little video, and I was saying basically, look at how everybody else moving. They're not gonna look at you like that. But Spence got this thing. It's this little word. It's called integrity. Yeah. Spence got integrity, so he stood on it, and I always said him and Bud, they both stubborn as mules, man. Two of the most stubborn. If they got their mindset, which leads to their greatness. A lot of people are stubborn in their ways and they just won't move and they won't budge. Just like, they just dogmatic about how they going to do it, whatever. Yeah, they might get in their own way, but if once you perfect it and you learn how to, bend it to your will, it can work for you. And that's how Errol Spence is. There are a lot of people that they're good and glad that he didn't go out like that. That wasn't going to be, because anybody else could come back and look at all these people that's coming back and getting their last hoorah. I think we just still pump figures because we just say, yeah, this is it or whatever. And then, oh yeah, I think it's, and then, he got to fight. He's coming. Yeah, man, I'm feeling better. I'm doing, same old rigmarole. And shout out to Regis, one of my guys. But like, there are some people that's going to keep dipping in the cookie jar. We never got the book in, even though there is a huge, well, not so huge, fan base that celebrate on the anniversary of what Bud did to Earl Spence. And man, the slander is coming out. They getting so creative with the slander. It's like, but like these guys, like you can tell they never won nothing. Some of us just like Earl. Some of us say that, listen, man, you burn your own bridge, the one you built, you burn it when you say that Earl Spence ain't nothing. When you just devalued it. The dude did come with 3 rings. You know what I'm saying? He came with 3 rings and fell short of 1. How many other boxers could even say that? Devin did it and got all of them in 1 fight. That'll never happen again. Outside of somebody jumping up on somebody that already got him and knocking him off. But no, in 1 fight. You email one and then go fight one guy and then defend it against that same guy. 24 rounds. So landed and defended all in 2 swoops. Bada boom, bada bing. Earl Spence went by one. He went over there to Sheffield where they was throwing brownies at him. He had the IBF and we give him more credit for that. That's really when my eyes started saying, you know what, that IBF is something serious. That 10 pound or whatever. Yeah, but people they were using that. The same way people use that now. They use that 10 pound because it ain't nothing to play with. It really is a lie detector when it comes to measuring whether or not you should really be in that weight class. It would. Your favorite fighter ain't never single-handedly just jumped up and fought for the IBF by itself or whatever. Your favorite fighter didn't do it. Nope. Talking all that stuff. I have everything to say about how people perform off of it. They didn't do it. That was Earl's first one against Kell Brook when Kell Brook was still pretty much Kell Brook. That was his way in when Keith Thurman was running around acting like, there was no such thing as Earl Spence. And he had his he had his accidents and things like that. But Earl, man, I don't take tune-ups. He ran through everybody. He relieved Sean Porter. He made Sean Porter's eyes roll in the back of his head when he clocked that chin bone. I said he knocked the rings out of him. He broke Kell Brook will. Like he made Kell Brook get down on one knee and say, "Don't hit me no more, man. Don't even I'm all right, man. You got it, bro." That was him in his prime. I was calling him Dr. Ribeye, Mr. Ribeye, because he was breaking ribs in orbital bones. He ran into a bad man. And some of us say, hey, man, our mans didn't look right. It is what it is. That don't take away from whatever. That was the new rule for me. I do not take any credit away from anybody. If my fighter or whoever fighter get in the ring in any condition, I can't take away because you decide to do that. Ironically, and look at the subject of the matter today. So it's relevant. But he ran the bud, you know what I'm saying? It happened and people wanted him to just retire. I don't even ever want to like the man. Really, what did he do? He lost to who everybody saying you let them say. You put a microphone in his face with this recency bias and hindsight of 2020 stuff. They say he lost to the baddest man on the planet. Ain't nobody gonna really argue with it, but it's debatable whether or not, you know what I'm saying, it was timing. He took his time off. He chose his opponent. He's doing what Earl do in Earl fashion. I feel like Jay-Z, can I live? I believe that's what Earl's saying. Zoo, yeah, I mean, a couple people done cracked that omelet. You know what I'm saying? A couple people done, you know what I'm saying, picked that lock. Okay, cool. Perfect fight. Only other more perfect fight would have been a Tony Harrison. I would have loved with Tony Harrison and the crazy stuff he's saying in the mail now. I would love for Earl to come back when it was little rumblings and rumors, you know what I'm saying, a little fart in the wind was saying, you know, that could have possibly been whatever. I would have loved to see Earl. That would have been perfect for Earl to, you know what I'm saying, gnaw on, you know what I'm saying, on his way back. I just want to see my man come back, have a good showing, you know, and I want to gauge some things. I hope that he's in his right mind, man. And hey, haters, you know, hey, it's plenty of traffic out here. It's plenty of bridges. There's plenty of things up under your kitchen cabinet that you can have a, you know, a good old time with. Take a shot. You know what I'm saying? If you don't like Earl coming back, but he do got a fan base. You know what I'm saying? He's coming back. How he look and all that, that's to be determined. We just happy that our guy coming back, man. One of my 3 favorite fighters, Tank, Mel, and Earl. Ironically, they're not the active ones, but I've been staying active on the channel and just getting down how I got some new favorite fighters. I got some other people that I'm checking for right now because I don't just harp on them. But salute to the big fish, man. I look forward to seeing Earl, man. Salute to Earl, man, for coming back, man, and having integrity. And guess what? When Earl got his ass whooped, guess what he did? He stayed right there. He answered questions. He said, I want to get the rematch. He told his son, like, son, you going to get it? Like, yeah, we going to get it back. Like, he sat there and took it like a man, answered questions. He ain't leave. He ain't found a reason to walk off and do all that other. He gave credit where it was due. He didn't say, oh, I was this, I was that. He did it like a man. He said it with his chest, little ninja. So salute to Earl. I'm happy that he's coming back. Number 2, Jared Big Baby Anderson was going to be on the undercard of Dubois in Wardley, but Wardley defends his strap. And he got a torn bicep, man. Are the boxing guys messing with us, man? Because, like, not only are the United States, that's why I'm glad when it comes to the heavyweights, really when it comes to them all, but more specifically, we know where the weight is right now. It is what it is. The heavyweights are across the pond. It's just that time. It's ebbs and flows. Just like any leadership, any domination, any controller regime, it switches sides. It's ebbs and flows. It might take a while, and right now, it's up over there across the pond. For us, not so much. And a lot of us had our eyes on Jared. We seen the right hand of Bacoli, where he was able to do against Jared. You know what I'm saying? Eyes was a little bit bigger than his stomach, but he went out like a soldier. He came back. A lot of people are questioning, is he there? Is he how? I seen him training. He looked happy and all that. I was getting all this activity. And I was like, okay, well, he's staying active, but he looking happy and he having fun again. Like, he looked like the old Jared, and then boom, bicep. So when it comes to the American heavyweight, man, I mean, we got to look at, like, we got to be honest and say that, listen, man, we still in need. That don't mean be thirsty and try to force somebody round, peg, square, hole, you know, this thing. No, it's just we got to let it play out. It played out. You know, it played out the way it actually came back. Now, is it back to where, you know, when we had Tyson and Lennox and Holyfield? No, it's not there. It's not there. Not yet. but it's better than it was a couple years ago. It really is. It's more competitive it's more like on any given night, depending on the matchup, and if ain't no funny business going on, it can go down. It's like 140, if you ask me. On any given night at 140, it's gonna go down. I'm almost willing to say it at 154. It's just they have not really been mixing it up like that. But 140 is definitely like that. Salute to Aaron Jones. Yo. People like Regis and Buzz say they're going to retire to stay relevant, if that makes sense. They want to see if people care. Yeah. I mean, it looked like I kind of believe Regis. I think Regis knows, man. If he get in there, because what JoJo was doing, and that wasn't even nowhere near what JoJo should be. But I hope Regis, because Regis he got some charisma. He can act. He can do so many other things. It's just as far as the elite level and all that, nah, man. The punch resistance is gone, and I don't want to have that Roy Jones stuff. But salute to Aaron Jones. But yeah, Eric Big Baby is out, and he was on that undercard. He's out. So it's unfortunate. I hope he heal, and we'll see what's happening, man. His energy and his spirit definitely looked like it was conditioned to get back in the saddle and really have some fun and make a run and have some fun in the ring. Because that was one of his things. He had fun. He was creative with his offense. He was still fine-tuning some things on defense, but he had fun in it. He fought, inspired and happy, and it wasn't just rock 'em, stop 'em. He had moves. But hopefully he gets well, man, and heals. So salute to Jared Anderson, man. Take it easy. And the last one. Tim, not Desert Storm, but Double Standard Bradley strikes A-Gang. And I always say, man, just like a couple of things in life, Tim is the gift that keeps on giving, I swear. Now, I know in part he's being bipolar, but it's like, yeah, sometimes he get on there and play with CTE and make jokes, but I don't think that that's really funny. But he do that. But who am I? He's the Hall of Famer. I think I'm just a little older and a little bit more mature. And I don't really knock Tim. I respect him for being a Hall of Famer. But he recently came out, and it's wild because when I let AC know what the housekeeping was, he immediately responded, was it the fact that he did blah, blah, this and that? I said, yep. Hand over my face emoji. Like, it's an embarrassment. Why? What are you talking about, Mike? If you listen, I'm going to tell you, right? He's coming out here, putting on the big cape and fighting Shakur's battles once again. Telling about how he's really this small guy. And listen, and when there's, them guys are big. If you don't think he's going to win an event, it's like, I understand all that. But like, man, like you out here capping and caping. I've never heard this argument for the guy, the little dude, the little light-skinned dude that nobody like love or whatever. That don't get no love out here in these YouTube streets. Do you ever heard of him? His name Javante Tank Davis. Y'all ever heard of that guy? I've never heard him make the excuse for that. Now, Ray Ford is actually bigger than Tank. Him and Naoya anyway, probably different, body types and all that, but they actually are damn near the same height with the same reach. Think about it. I've never heard Tim. It's always been, and they say this because of his power or whatever, because he be knocking people out. So that just negates all that, and they be wanting him. I never heard nobody come out and say that when he was arguing. They said the man dunked Conor Ben when Eddie came out with that felonious $20 million offer. Now, after he moves up to 40, where he been saying he was bigger than 2-0 T.O. for the last 2 years. That was prior to when they fought. When did they fight? A couple months ago. So we could say 2 years or some change. At a minimum, he was saying he was bigger than T.O. Prior to. On record. Saying he was bigger than, well, they say, yeah, T.O., but actually, I'm actually bigger than T.O. He was laughing. 2 years ago was saying that. And this is what I be talking about when it comes to the mind Fuckery that they be doing out here. All types of foreign style that they be saying, like he said on Shotters. Extortion. Yeah, all that. He's out here caping for Shakur. And now he's this little bitty guy. And I'm like, man, I've never in my life have I heard this. For somebody that's supposed to be like, just like Floyd, and he's already in the annals of boxing history, and he's up there with Bud and all. Yeah, when he hang him up, he's gonna more than likely, yeah. But like to now come out with all this little guy stuff, the little big man, the guy that's at 40. I don't know what's more crazy, the fact that they never linked Gary Antoine Russell after he fought Hirioka, and people Tim has something to say about how Gary fought Hirioka. Why you ain't want to try to put Hirioka on Shakur? Oh, why would Shakur do that? Why? Because he might get his ass whooped. That's why. We ain't never seen him fight nobody that was bigger. Like now, so supposedly he's this little teeny tiny guy, but you know what you did? You really put Shakur in a checkmate. Why? Because that opens up, that blows a whole big ass hole in the whole O'Shaquie Foster conversation. It just blows it all the way away. It's like, Tim, you don't gotta be fighting Shakur's battles. If you try, shit, you might as well start poking holes in your neck and try to grow a head out of it, or 2 or 3 of them, because he double talks. He double talks. He'll come on and say this in this interview, this and that interview. I stopped caring. I'm like, oh, I already know what he's doing. I see, oh, it's just promotion. It's like all that stuff, Keisha, oh, that's just their way of promoting. You will go crazy trying to pay attention to that, or trying to catch them up, but then you sound like the hater, but all his fans just going to ignore it. Like, man, you know they got to do. Yeah, so they got to come out and lie to you, and y'all going to sit around to somebody that say this one on Monday, say this on Tuesday, say what they were saying on Monday, on Wednesday, and then change it back up on Thursday, what they said on Tuesday. It don't make no sense. It just blows a hole in it. So if he's so small, why didn't he take, what was wrong with the offer when Shakur said, when O'Shaquie was like, all right, here go an offer. We can do it in Houston. I'm going to pay your little fees. I'm going to pay the 120 grand. So you getting whatever was in that offer and the 120 grand. And you're going to get your belt back. And he had to have cleared it with Mauricio and all that because it was sent already. Oh, this little man, oh, but that fight don't make it. What has O'Shaquie done? It's like, now where has O'Shaquie gone? Okay. These guys are just linguini experts, man. And Tim, man, I don't know why he do it. Tim he can do boxing take. He can be real. He can even do satire. He can do whatever. I don't know why he choose to do this. This is some blind allegiance. I don't know. I guess they was all part of the He-Man Women Haters Club or something, or they must have all did some kind of crazy ritual behind closed doors. I don't know for why they do these things for these guys, man. It's just like, it's just getting embarrassing. And it's like, man, when we come by and we say, hey, man, just keep it a buck. Just keep it straight down the middle, man. You ain't got to do all of that. You're going to get numbers. You're going to do numbers. People are going to want to hear from you just because you achieved the Hall of Fame, just because you shared the ring with Manny Pacquiao. But I don't understand why he out here doing Shakur business. And I keep saying, I keep asking y'all, if you need the media, you need Bud, you need Ward, you need Coppinger, you need Kellerman, you need anybody who had put a fucking mic in their face, you need Eddie, you need Jay Prince, you need Turkey, you need Cigar Talk, you need anybody who talk about boxing online. Like, if you need all of that, how great are you? And you got all these excuses. I keep telling people, Tank did not have the machine behind him. He galvanized the fan base. And it boils down to that 93.33%. No, is knockouts everything? No. But like he said in the intro, people think that I just go in there looking for the knockouts. It's act like that. I'm actually a smart, sharp fighter. They don't give him no credit. Nobody making no excuses for how little that guy is. He just, what'd he do? He put on his jaw strap, he put in his mouthpiece, and he go in there and he make that shit happen. Is it always the prettiest? No. But it's damn sure entertaining. Every second he had you sitting on the edge of your seat. He didn't get none of these excuses. And that's what AC was talking about as far as y'all wanting to wipe these dudes' asses all the time. It's like, nah, man, we got to stop it, man. We got to stop it, man. Let's just be real, man, and just be real. That way you ain't got to change. I ain't got to call you out for flip-flopping and all that. I ain't got to do all of that. But that's the housekeeping, y'all. That's the housekeeping. I salute the A Sustain, man. I appreciate that, man. Thank you. He said he never wanted to be the best. Motherfuckers like Jared get satisfied from being around celebrities. That's what AC was talking about, them celebrity bosses. 100 targets. A Sustain say, hey, must have been doing something all right. I appreciate that. Good feedback, man. Nah, it's getting embarrassing. LL, he too old to act like that, bro. Yeah, he too old. I'm older than Tim. So on the spite of that, yeah. And I've been to the Army. You know what I'm saying? I did basic. I ain't never get hit in the head, you know, for doing boxing and all that. I didn't do it that way. I went to the Army at 17. So, I mean, I could say I have a little say. It's not like I'm just totally disrespecting the guy, but I am older. And I do think I'm more mature than him. You know what I'm saying? It's just dumb as hell. It's like, why do you do that? You already got the fame. You got the glory. That's not enough. Now you got to do all of that and then be a clown online? For who? And reminder, this shit is always going to be online. This shit going to be online, baby. So you got to think about that. Yeah, do some choice words and stuff like that get said over here. Yeah, do some crude analogies and stuff like that get used sometimes. Yeah. But we realize that this shit gonna be online, baby. I will hope, with the rare occasion, that I don't have to be pulling down videos and going back and justifying and having to answer to nobody about how I was acting and how I was lying and how I was bullshitting and how you... Nah. You're not going to be able to do that. That's why I say quality over quantity. And that's what we do, man. We ain't got to be first. We ain't got to be the most frequent. We just want to come down and have a great show, do business, have some laughs, have some jokes, point out some facts, and live to speak another boxing talk day. That's all we're going to do. We're not going to change and be, you know what I'm saying, whatever. But that's the housekeeping, AC. What you got on it, bro? I don't know if you muted or something, but AC, you might be muted up, bro. Maybe it needed to breathe for a second. Maybe the stove got too hot. I don't know. You know, but I be having a lot of time to sit back and just look at things, man, from a bigger perspective. And I get to use the microscope. See, one thing, when you online all the time, you don't have the time to qualify and really put together something. You either regurgitating what everybody else is saying and doing, you know, or you just going through the motions. It's just like working out, man. You want them quality reps, man. You gotta sit down, put together a game plan, get specific, target certain areas, and put that work in. And that's pretty much what we do over here. We target certain areas and put that body work in. And it's not always the prettiest, but it is very effective. But yeah, I don't know what happened, ACU. I was saying that was the housekeeping, bro. What you have on it?
Hold on 1 second. I can't get this shit to shut the fuck up. But basically, with that, I'm going to start from the last one because this is the one we were discussing earlier. And in that discussion, I have to say it like this. For me, the situation between the double standard of Tim Bradley is crazy because for me, it all seems as though you're establishing the slow moving duck for Shakur Stevenson. It's like watching two stars merge or two black holes merge. That takes billions of years. You know what I'm saying? And by the time it happens, we all forgot about it. So that's what I'm gathering, because why is the argument that Shakur is so small? He's a real natural 126er and things like that. He's just a small guy. But out of Shakur's mouth, he says he fought all of these heavier guys. There's videos of him sparring, or he says he spars all of these heavy guys. There's videos of him sparring heavier guys and stuff like that. So, you know, he's making his fame off of sparring and talking about sparring. Oh, I just want to spar that guy. So these are the things he said. I am the best. I'm the best boxer from this weight class to this weight class. And I can't wait for the fights to prove it. But yet when the fights are now in your face to prove it, you're making moves and talking about going up to a weight class that everyone who's on your side is saying, you're way too small for that. So we got to give you all of this time for you to get there. Basically trying to do the Terrence Crawford thing as he took that 13 months or whatever to acclimate himself to the higher weight so he can go up there and fight Canelo. If that's the case of what you're doing, just speak on it. You know what I'm saying? But the mere fact that you're saying you're so small, but you won't fight Raymond Morataya. You won't go down to 35 to fight Raymond Morataya. Or they're claiming that you're going to do this thing with Devin at 147 pounds and you're not ducking any smoke because 147 pounds is where all the real smoke is for you. No, it's not. It's at 140 pounds where you are right now. All the real smoke is right there in your face. One dude told you he want to fight you, but he said, I know you'll never fight me. That's Mr. Gary Russell. You know what I'm saying? So there's plenty of smoke at 140. There are dudes who called you out standing in the ring, Tito Mercado. And you like, that's my D. You inviting him to the Frank stand. But he's standing in the ring with the gloves on, with a good sweat on, telling you, why don't you get in this ring with me? Oh, I'm a 135 pounder. All right. Oshaki said, I'll come up to 135, fight you. I'll get you reinstated. What you say? I don't like the way he was talking. Raymond Morataya, I'll fight Raymond Morataya for that IBF strap and the Ring magazine belt. Knowing that Raymond Morataya got a fight now. Raymond Morataya, people say, yo, we'll come up to 140. I don't know why I got to fight everybody. Why y'all want me to fight this guy at 35 and this guy at 40 and this guy at 47? Why I got to do all of that? But Tim Bradley won't recognize what you said. He'll only tell you what he sees or what he wants you to believe he sees. That Shakur is, Shakur is a small guy. I'm just trying to tell y'all. I seen Shakur. He a small guy. And I'm like, what? Tim, what the fuck? What? Like, wow. Wow, but yet Shakur was talking about how much smaller Teofimo Lopez was to him. How he almost kind of bend size when they was both sitting there with Ariel Helwani, and he'll go up to 154. If you a small guy, what you doing even entertaining at 154 pounds if you are 126 pounder? Like 154 pounds would never come out of my mouth. 147 pounds would never come out of my mouth. So that's the part that I don't get. That's the double standard. Tim, you don't say that, but you really trying to tell us that Shakur is a small dude. You really trying to tell us that, you know, the fight for him is at 147 and we just gotta wait. So he can get up to 147 and prove his greatness. All right, that's why he asked for Ryan Garcia at a catchweight. And thank God Ryan Garcia has Benny in his corner, and Benny told him, bro, don't play yourself. So, you know, Jared, the biggest issue when I was talking about Jared in an interview he just had with Cigar Talk and stuff like that, I was like, okay, let's just see how it goes for you. Torn bicep, let's see how that plays out. And I'll just leave that with Jared, because I just gotta just let time dictate my reactions to Jared Anderson just moving forward. Errol Spence coming back. Yeah, that's something that when you look at the numbers of people viewing this fight, it's gonna tell you a lot of what you need to know as far as who Errol Spence was and how Bud was able to become the superstar he became after beating Errol Spence. When this man comes back, those viewership numbers is going to tell you. So you don't really need to harp on anything. There's no real justification. It's just his math is going to be math. So that's all I have to say. And Errol Spence coming back is for many people it's going to seem weird because they're going to look at like, why is there so much energy behind Errol coming back? Like for other people that they're going to be like, oh wow, yeah, this energy was missing. Yeah, Earl's back. Earl back in the game. Yeah, that's what's up. So with that being said, it's he coming back, and we're gonna see how he look. Hopefully he performs the way we're expecting him to perform. For many of us, it'll be looking just to see, okay, I'm not expecting too much, I just want to see how you look, because you've been out the ring for a while. I want to see if his timing gonna make you look a little sloppy early on, and then you're gonna get it together, after the 4th or 5th round, and then you're gonna start to look like the Errol Spence that we know and became huge fans of by the end of the 6th going into the 7th. You know what I'm saying? And hopefully you'll get the rounds in. So that's basically what I'm counting on from watching or hoping to watch and see from him. A slow progression throughout the 10 or 12 rounds. I don't know how many rounds the fight gonna be in. Just to see where you are. Is it comparable with the Gary Russell return, where you can see he was thinking and there was some issues, but that sharpness that was there was like, whoa, yeah. You know what I'm saying? So let's just see how it works out. And that's what I got on that.
Well, I want to say this, Shakur. It's so funny, man, and I got away from kind of doing it. I talk about it and glancing if it comes up, because I was like, I don't want this to be one of them channels where every day we just get up and just cook the shit out of Shakur. Not that we can't, because he's the gift that keeps on giving. But what I'm getting at with Shakur is wild, because it was a pocket in time where they was almost acting the way Boots and them was acting when like 16 different fighters said no to Boots. Bosey was like, yeah, like 16 of them, not me. But Shakur was acting like that. Now there were some names, Frank did what he did, Cruz said what he said. It was some couple names that he went through. They tried to do the whole Williams and Payne thing. It was a couple people that was like, nah, it was, So there was a couple people that for whatever reason they were. So he could say that. But it's wild because now when the, so to speak, hunter really is the hunted now, oh man, it's all a different kind of excuses, and it's like it's like, no, this is different than what was going on with Boots. There was a couple people that were saying they were fighting, but they were just saying, listen, we getting lowballed, but they was willing to fight him. It was like a couple. It was just like a couple that was willing to do that. A couple. With Shakur, there's like, shit, damn near 10, 7, 8, 7, like it's 7, 8 different people was like, yeah, I want that. I'll be your Huckleberry. And now it's all these excuses when originally he was the famous one who was trying to bring back, nah, skills pay the bills. Nah, I think every time you listen to it, nah, skills pay the bills. I don't really think size is going to be. And now he's one of them size matters. And I'm gonna say this. one, they never made no excuses for T.O., and T.O. had been up there for what, 3 years?
Yeah.
And he's been bigger, and he's been bigger than T.O. for 2 years. But T.O.'s been actually fighting that weight class for 2-3 years. So that's one thing. The second thing is, man, I would hate to be one of them guys, you know what I'm saying, when you like how AC said, hey, Shorts, is it big? Is it big in there? I mean, because listen, I don't care because it's the skills, but is it big in there? You know, no, you just gotta get in there and see, you know, so you gotta get in there and fit, you know, get in where you fit in, bro. Like, you can't be one of them size matters guys. Like, you know, I would hate to think, man, like, you know, you got a lady and all that, but I would hate for, you know, for you to be one of them guys that's saying, hey, shorty, is it big? I don't know, like, what you think? Because I feel like, you know, because it's like, come on, bro, just get in where you fit in, man. Just do the do, goddammit. You know what I'm saying? Don't be one of them do the size matter. Like, we don't, it's you know, you can argue or debate or whatever. Some people say, because that skills pay the bills is almost like people saying it's the motion of the ocean. We don't give a fuck. Just do the do. Because I'm pretty sure some of them size matter guys, them guys that be like, man, they don't know whether or not they still don't have no problem doing the do. Just do the do, Shakur. Stop all this size matter stuff, bro. It made me look at you in a different light, bro. I'm laughing. You know, I can't even take you serious. And then you got Hall of Famers out here arguing. This is the times we in, y'all. This is a stake in the ground. 2026, we have Hall of Famer Tim Bradley arguing about how pound for pound, they say he pound for pound #1, about how he's a really small guy. Big man in a little coat. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like on some Chris Farley shit. Yeah. Knock it off. And that's where I'm gonna land. That's where I'm gonna land right there. Salute to Thomas Hill. That's your core putting that in people's head that he is small, just like he trying to force people to pay for born. Yeah. It's like, let's knock off the shenanigans, man. These guys are coming out just embarrassing themselves, but that's it. That's the only thing I really had to what you were saying.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, man, it's not even funny. It's more on the line of being pathetic, because the argument you make is the complete counter argument to someone claiming that they're a pound for pound fighter. What does pound for pound mean? So if you're a pound for pound fighter, how can anyone argue you're too small unless you're talking about going up to fight a heavyweight or a cruiserweight? So that's the part that I just don't get. That's the part that has me in the space that just particularly says, you know what? You're just not him. You're a good fighter. And the more and more I feel myself accepting that, the more and more, like, each little inch just finds me saying, okay, now I could find that space that makes me want to be a fan of yours, because now I know who you are. Now that I know who you are, you can't put on, you know, the Clark Kent glasses, and now I'm like, where did Clark go? Or where did Superman go? Oh, Clark, you're right here. You know what I'm saying? No, I'm not that stupid. A pair of glasses is not gonna fool me. You know, so even though Keyshawn and other people like to wear them glasses, nah, we just not gonna do that on this side. And that's kind of where I landed for myself, man. It's just a sad state that Hall of Famer is out here talking about a pound for pound fighter, as you just alluded to, and other Hall of Famers are out here talking about a pound for pound fighter and saying he's a small guy. Okay, so if he's a small guy, then what about the two fights? Then why aren't we talking about him either facing Raymond Morataya. If Morataya decides to stay at 35 or go to 40, why are we not talking about him staying at 40? And why are we not talking about him, you know, facing someone like Oshaki Foster, who is also a small guy who wants to move up to 35, the division he just left that he said he's the guy. So these are just my questions. And it's not like I'm going after him. These are just my questions that I would ask anyone who's going to make that argument that Shakur is small.
Yeah, it's weird because you got the Hall of Famer in one breath. He'll say, yeah, man. Yeah, when y'all gonna realize, man, Shakur, he one of them ones. And then turn right around and say, well, he could fight Conor because listen, man, Conor, he's not that skilled. But when it comes to Devin, you gotta understand, he's really a small guy. But I thought, is his skills play the bills, or he's really a small guy? You know, and then it's even to the point to where Tim said, oh man, y'all want to catch Shakur up because he flipped and fumbled over his words. It's like, but y'all have no mercy on Tank. Y'all try to say that he's dumb, but he got a Baltimore accent. Y'all try to say he's stupid, but everybody else who know plain English be knowing what Tank be saying. They understand him just well, but y'all don't make that excuse for him. Y'all say, oh man, y'all, you know he's not the brightest crayon in the crayon box, but then you gotta even go to the extent to where, oh man, y'all catching Shakur up because he stumbled over his words. No, he was on live, he was on a hot mic in front of the world doing an interview, talking about why do I gotta fight these guys? Like, you sound like I'm not gonna tell you what you sound like. You know, I'm not gonna tell you what you sound like, but use your imagination, and I'll leave it there. Salute to Hill and Honey. Salute. But yeah, I ain't gonna, unless we come back around to it, I ain't gonna cook them much longer. I just think that it's really interesting, and it's just a sign of the times, man. We in 2026, and this is what we're dealing with. It's not a lot of predators. It's a few of them out here, and I'm gonna go ahead and transition into the main thing. You cool with that?
Yeah.
All right, let's get into the meat and the potatoes. And do some body work on my like button. So I've been connecting some dots. And I've been saying I needed to do a segment on Eddie because it's certain things that I've been piecing together, and I really do think we're getting played as boxing fans, y'all. Like, I think we getting played 3 different ways. We getting played 3 different ways right now. More specifically, what I'm going to be talking about today is how Eddie he might be top selling globally if he come out with a pullout game for dummies. Between him and the Schofields, they should do a seminar on the pullout game. Because Schofield, with them 3 pullouts he had, and then, you know, this pattern that Eddie has established. And I'm not saying that injuries don't happen, right? Look at Keith Thurman, older guy, right? Okay. Look at all the pullouts that Virgil. So I'm not saying it don't happen. But what I'm saying is this looks really odd when I've been really honing in on Eddie. The same way people be kicking the shit out of PBC, the same way people be lighting fire to Oscar De La Hoya's ass, I'm looking at Eddie too. Because I look at them all. And I judge them accordingly. We put them all on the scale, just like the boxers. We put all of these promoters on the scale. So I've been looking at Eddie, man, and I've been saying, this is not a good look. And I was saying, okay. When I look back, I had called it load management when Shakur was getting ready to fight Joe Cordina. And I was saying, dang, it was just like when it hit me that in football, you know, when they started doing that. And then the NBA, when they started sitting players down and doing all this. And people, you got to think, them last games, people were buying tickets and stuff. But some of them, no matter what, they got implications. It's the last season. You might need that win, but then some of them you need something funky, like you need this team to win and that team to win. But you could have it all locked up, and you could sit everybody. And what about the fans that came out and seen it to see that? So when it hit in NFL, I had a reaction. When it started happening in the NBA, I'm like, what? They sitting people down, like ain't nothing wrong with them. Hold on. So what about the fans who bought tickets to come out and see? And I think Kobe had went on record one day and was like, yeah, but what about when they was asked about it? He's like, but what about the fans who paid money to come see me? And I wasn't the biggest Kobe fan, but I got love for Kobe in a certain way because of the mentality. But that's what he was on record as saying. When it came over to boxing, I was like, oh man, we can't do this in boxing. Even though people have been matchmaking, maneuvering, if that's what you want to call it, they've been doing this, but this thing right here, Eddie is actually mastering this right here. This pullout game. You got to think, when it came down to David Morrell, like, people was questionable about him because he had another performance after the David Benavidez with that guy who nobody, all these PED loving people and all these people that are always whatever, that guy popped hot over there, got caught, came over here, and they allowed that guy to fight over here. It was almost like the same Conor Ben situation. You remember what Eddie did, the special arraignments, how the Triple BC, they wouldn't allow that. They was like, nah. They was all over Conor Ben. They were like, nah, you can't do it. And Eddie somehow arranged for him to fight over in the States. Well, that guy popped. I think he's from Russia. He still came over. The one who dropped David Morrell. Nobody talked about the PED and all that because people pick and choose when they talk about that kind of stuff. So people were questioning about David Morrell and what he really is, and was he hype, and was he this, and was he that. I still got mad love for David Morrell. He's seeking the smoke. It happens. He probably gonna grow and learn from it and go on and do whatever. And Callum Smith pulled out of that fight with an injury. Y'all see where I'm going? So I was all, because 140 is my division. And if you've been watching, if you're part of the 300, and if you don't know, now you know. Ninja. 140 been my division. I've been calling, I said it's the most competitive on any given night. If it's the matchup, you know what I'm saying, blah, blah, blah. And you can start seeing some of these guys filter up to 47. And it's going to make 47 even more competitive. And some of these guys coming from 35, it's going to be going to 40, going to make it way more competitive. You got some people that might not ever sniff a belt with all this politics going on that might be forced to go to 47. The same way somebody like Rohan Polanco was forced to go to 47 because, people was, according to whatever, people was like maneuvering funny. So this was big implications. Why? Because Subriel Matias was one of my guys. I helped put stakes in the ground for him when he couldn't get a fight, when he was just looking like a terror, when he really was the boogeyman. Him and Gary Antoine Russell were the boogeyman in 140 at one point in time. Ironically, he lost on the same night. That was the night when Frank Martin got knocked out by Tank. They lost on the same night. It was an anomaly. One got edged out, on points, arguable, close, whatever. I thought it was, straight up and down. One got outworked, and that was Subriel. He got outworked by Liam Paro. So when Subriel Matias fought this guy, Dalton Smith, he came over there, and we was watching and saying whatever, and he showed up, live dog. He came across the pond over here and did that. After that adverse test, and he was cleared, and we realized, okay, this is what was going on with the PD. We addressed all of that in the smear campaign they put or whatever. We addressed all of that. So in a sense, Dalton Smith kind of like shocked the world. Nobody really saw him do that. But if you rewind to the fight before that with Puello and Matias, even though Matias was like my guy, I like Puello. I think he one of the rawest boxers out there. Like he can box. You talking about the sweet science, he can box, and with his skills, with his height, his reach, and his feet and all of that, he's nice. I thought that he actually beat Subriel Matias. I think I might have lost a fan or two after that, but I think I came out and said I thought he won. Some people left the channel. Oh well, we keep it a buck. I thought he won. And being that it was kind of controversial, they were saying that this man would have to, he would get his shot at Dalton Smith like ASAP. You got to think, that was the same time when, after Subriel Matias did that, he basically brought Dalton Smith over there, and Turkey came out there and basically saying, he pretty much was like, you going to fight this dude next. So that put Puello on the back burner. So after that was going to get handled, which Dalton Smith did, he got the job done, right? Puello was next in line. That was a man that had to happen. And somehow, some way, Dalton Smith, mysteriously, I don't even know if it was 7 days after I seen an interview of him saying that he would love to fight Shakur Stevenson. Poof, he got an injury. Do that sound familiar? And even though he wasn't hyped about the Joe Cordina fight when it was announced, I was like, hold on, man, this dude came off of a knockout loss, bro. Not only a knockout, so not only is he moving up from 30 to 35, but he just got knocked out, bro. You're gonna fight him next. That was the point. It was no Shakur hate. Poof, Shakur had an injury. So, two things are happening, and this is why I say we got played 3 different ways. We getting played by the whole Zuffa action and how they're sucking talent that's already ranked because they're getting a couple guys that just need a payday, like people that's like pretty much a little bit more than 9 and 5. Some of them guys, like the guy that they just signed, Brandon Lee, he was going to school full time. I think in the time since I seen, he probably got a bachelor's degree now. So people like that who want to box and get a regular check, who not trying to get no back breaking numbers, no diddy. Yeah, that's for them. People like Adrian Broner, that'll probably be good for him because he needs, he needs something. He need a facility, like he need a lot. So for certain people, yeah. So we getting played by them and what they're doing, how they're picking off certain people, which if you take a medium to large size player out of the big pond, that's cool. If you take too many out and you put them over in a little pond, you're gonna cause a disturbance, and that's what they're kind of doing. So we're getting played on that side. We're getting played by Eddie because if you look at it, the implications of the fighters that he had if they were to lose at this point in time, because he had always said he was not this dogmatic when it came down to Subriel unifying, when it came down to Richardson Hitchens unifying. And I've been following the bouncing ball along, but guess what? He was very adamant about Dalton Smith unifying ASAP. And that's why I was saying I didn't like certain some of the signings. Fortunately, Tito is a free agent now. Woo. Richardson Hitchens, he went on to be a free agent, maybe shot himself in the foot. I'm not sure. I knew it was supposed to be him and Tio for Alcatraz. It was never supposed to be Shakur. They were supposed to unify. Did he get it? No. Now he over on Zuffa Island. AC called it Zuffa Monroe. The Isle of Zuffa Monroe. He went over there. He didn't get to unify. But he was pretty adamant. So it's going to be real wild. If next thing you know, in October, we're going to see Dalton Smith and Shakur Stevenson. In October. It's going to be real wild. And how are we going to explain that? So Puello, remember, because when Devin got his ass busted by Ryan, when it was, he was on the Oster ring, he took his time off. Gary Antoine and Puello fought for that belt. Devin didn't come back and fight Puello. He didn't come back and get his seat. He went to the bathroom and he came back and it was a ninja in his seat, sitting across from his lady, slurping his soup, chopping on his steak, and he went straight to the bar. He didn't fight Puello. So now Puello is the odd man out, and this mysterious injury. Mysterious, and this is what I want to show y'all real quick. This is what I want to show y'all. Dalton Smith with injury. This was yesterday, April 27th at 8:01 a.m. And that was Dalton Smith's Sheffield homecoming is off. That's the caption under the picture. And that's Dalton. Dalton Smith has been ruled out of his world title defense against Alberto Puello after an injury in camp. Matchroom Boxing have confirmed. Smith was set to defend his WBC super lightweight title for the first time in his home city of Sheffield on June 6th. The card will now be headlined by a flyweight unification bout between Galal Yafai and Ricardo Sandoval. Now, I like Galal, with the fight bumped up from its spot on the undercard of the original slate. Smith won the WBC title with an impressive stoppage win over Subriel Matias in New York, but would now have to wait for an opportunity to defend it. Neither Matchroom or Smith himself have disclosed any details of the injury. Elsewhere on the card, Josh Padley defends his junior European title against fellow Brit Aqib Fiaz, with young heavyweight Leo Atang also on the bill in front of his home crowd in Yorkshire. Ibrahim Suleiman will face Ibrahim Nadim for the British junior lightweight belt at the Utility Arena. So there you have it. There you have it, man. And it's one of them things, man, where when you look at like Eddie and the moves, it's like it happens. And I do have something else on this, but I know I said a lot and I opened it up with that. AC, where you want to jump in at?
Well, basically, this is how I kind of see it. This goes to part of that thing when you were talking about some of the reasons why some of these fighters pulled out of some of these fights on Eddie Hearn's side or whatever. Then this is where, you know, things just have a way of becoming circular when looking at current events and just looking at what recently just happened. We saw the Senate meeting on the Ali Act, and you know, one of the sticking points we were talking about was insurance. And if these fighters are pulling out for insurance, just imagine what that would actually do. You know what I'm saying? Just on that level of just the medical side of it. When you talk about why certain things seem really, really coincidental with Eddie Hearn fighters, and then you later on here, like in the example of Shakur versus Padley, Shakur said, I just pulled out of that fight because that was some Eddie Hearn stuff. Oh, but you told us that you had hurt your hand, and then there was the video of you going to the body, and then you dropping down, grabbing your hand or your arm or whatever. So did you stage that, Shakur? Is that what we just exposed? So it's the type of thing that you don't want to have the keys to that door, because if you have the keys to that door, then someone looks at it and say, hey, wait a minute, why you got a key to that door? Because, and then you trying to explain yourself for having a key to a room that allows you to do some of the most goofy and nefarious things in boxing, that then makes us question stuff about you. And then when we could tie it all together, whether that thing be tied all together because of appearance or whatever the case may be, we're in the age, and I say this 1,001 times, where we are with social media, where we are with, you know, with everything else, and the instant gratification of cooking someone on social media, the instant gratification of just having a reaction to something that just happened within the social media space. You leave those doors open, bro. And when you leave those doors open, people are going to say something. It may not all be positive. So people can get mad. You can say whatever. But when when the bouncing ball seems to be playing a tune that's directed on every 5 words. So in between, uh, like if I was starting out singing the Star Spangled Banner, just saying, "Oh, say, can you see?" Oh, he did this tomorrow at say, and then you have to interpret it like that. So for every 5 words, now we see the message that's being spoken. And if you're not open to see it, then more than likely you're gonna fall for the okey doke. Back in the day, they used to say, no, no, if you play the record backwards, you hear him make these confessions and stuff like that. So people were literally going out to buy records to play them backwards. Whether or not that was there or not, it didn't matter. It's the mere fact that I got you to do it. And social media is instant. Something happens. Let's instantly cook on it, you know? And when that instant thing happens, sometimes you may have knee-jerk reactions that'll lead you in one direction that just like, no, 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 no. Reel it back in a minute. Let a little bit of time go by and just let that thing marinate. You know, so Eddie Hearn, you do things that on one hand we like, yo, Eddie's pretty good as being a promoter. But when you're trying to promote everybody, what's the likelihood that you're going to make some catastrophic mistakes? Is it high, low, or non-existent? And when you're trying to be that way with everybody, and you're trying to say everybody is a world-class fighter, you know what I'm saying, and things like that, you're gonna make some mistakes, and these mistakes will be catastrophic. And then we'll be asking the fighter, what are you doing with this guy? Especially if there's a pattern. So that's the part of it where I look at what happens with Eddie Hearn. You know, for me, I have to look at it through several different special type glasses and take several different stances before I could just be like, oh. And that always just seems to be the safest approach. You know, it's a package that's ticking, that smells funny, and there's liquid that's leaking from it that someone's telling you is flammable. You better approach that package with caution, because if you don't, more than likely it's going to blow up in your face. And that's Eddie Hearn to me as being a fan or just trying to follow him. It's like, oh, you did this good thing today? Yeah, Eddie. Wait. This is 2 hours later after you did that. You just did that bullshit? Oh, come on, Eddie. You know what I'm saying? And that's the relationship you gotta have with Eddie. It's just like, he's Eddie. You know what I'm saying? Eddie is Eddie, and Eddie's gonna be Eddie.
You always say he's brilliant with advertising the fighter. Like if you want somebody to spring your praises and act like, man, he can promote you. You see what he do with how he was with Conor Ben, how he doing with Ben Whitaker, how he speaks of Shakur. So that's the advertising part. But this is the bigger picture for me, and I want y'all to follow me. Just follow me on this 1 second. This is how I'm talking about how I think we're getting played. Just hear me out real quick. I always, for a couple years now, I've been asking, are they making American boxing great again? And remember, that's our own self-interest. I've been like this from the beginning. And you have some flippers and some floppers and some people that started to adapt these same principles or this same philosophy. We've always been selfish because we got to think about our fighters first. This is where we are. Like, think about it. I went up to go see Boots fight, right? We went to go see him when he fought Stanionis. That's one of our fighters. Like, I went to go see Tank fight when he fought on Royal Farms. I was going to go see Derek Scooter Davis, but shoot, them tickets are a little bit too steep for me right now for what I was going. But the thing is, our local fighters, these are our interests. Why? Because these are the guys that we're more likely to see. These are the guys that we're going to see more frequently, and these are the guys that everybody's really interested in over here. Now, as a hardcore, my scope goes beyond American boxing. However, when it came up to these two, I always asked the question, are they making American boxing great again? And this is how I think we're getting played. Because a while ago, I was telling Aaron Jones this the other day in an email. A while ago, I had came on and said that and showed the article where they're going to make they were going to make Zuffa a feeding system for Riyadh season. Well, we seen what happened with Riyadh season. But either way, Turkey was behind Zuffa. He was the kickstart. He was the one that, you know what I'm saying, whatever. And he's linked, and that's his thing as well. So I said we getting bent over by Zuffa because they're poaching, in a sense. They went anti-sanctioned body, so it's 1 against 4, and they're plucking off. You seen what they did to Jal Batar. You seen what happened with Richardson Hitchens. I don't really care about Belonga, but there are other people that's being linked over there. They linked Devin over there. So we're getting played by Zuffa, right? We're getting played by Eddie. Why? Because I told y'all about 2 fighters. I told you about Richardson Hitchens. I told you about Subriel Matias. They never got an opportunity to unify, but he's dead set on his guy. And I always said we cannot blame Eddie. Why? Because he has to be selfish. He is a over the seas, across the pond promoter first. I've been preaching this since he had Devin. I said, man, listen, he's going to build these guys up. And then we have it with Demetrius Andre, who was on the same island as Canelo and Triple G and never got to fight. And they fought each other 3 times. Eureka. So the writing was already on the wall. We seen all of the maneuvering and how he promoted Devin and all this. Devin wound up having to go with Lou DiBella and do something funky with Top Rank to get it after Eddie had put in all that work with Devin. So we get bent over by Eddie, and then why? Because he's a master at procuring American talent. Up until now, we can let him off the hook because they actually got the Boots and Xander deal. Now, can we attribute that to Xander? But either way, we have to say, okay, well, yes, we have to attribute it to Xander because he didn't have to do it, right? But Eddie had to have a part in actually putting it together and making it make sense instead of doing what he's doing with Ben Whitaker right now and what he did for Conor when he first signed Jerron, and they were never going to fight. So we get messed over by Eddie in that sense. But guess what? I believe we're getting messed over by both of them. Why? I'm going to give you an illustration. In the truck driving business, right, every day it's an over-road truck driving, like myself at one point in time, who was coming off the road looking for something local. And when you first come off, right, you land a spot and you got to kiss a couple frogs before you get, you know what I'm saying, what you want. And so these brokers and all them, they know this. So they'll come out there, give you a sweet number, and you'll be riding, you'll be thinking everything fine. But because every day is an over-the-road truck driver that's coming off the road looking for it, they don't have to go too high on the pay. They don't have to go too, their fuel surcharges, With gas prices, they can, raise and lower that, accordingly because of how the market fluctuates. But they can always tamper with how much the load is. Why? Because there's always somebody coming. Now think about this. You got one broker. Let's just say Eddie and them is a broker, right? Frank Warner and them is a broker. Bob Arum or Tyler Buff or whoever's running things at Top Rank, they're a broker. Whoever's robbing, was it Tom Brown, whatever, they're a broker. You got Zuffa, that they're a broker. But if you got the bag and there's a certain amount that you got earmarked for a certain amount, and you're not going to pay for just anything, you're going to be even more selective. Speaking about Sugar Daddy right now, right? He's one of the brokers. He's going to be more selective, and he's going to decide who gets the bread. But let him find out that Eddie made a fight with somebody, let's just say with the PBC. Because remember, when David Benavidez went to that fight with Viterbiev and Bivol, it was under the impression that he was going to get the winner. And when he actually was in position, what did Turkey tell Bivol? You better not bite the hand to feed you. You better not go make that fight. Now that would have been Bivol going to go do business with PBC. He got in the way of that fight. There's a couple other fights that could have happened, but he didn't make it. Like, he didn't intervene and step in when it came down to Boots and Virgil. And I was always saying, well, listen, if money ain't a thing like Jermaine Dupri, how come some of these big fights that y'all said he was the saving grace for If it would just add money, we were just missing the money. How come those fights didn't happen? Because it was never really in his best interest. So you got to think about it. Just what happens when you come out the road and you're you with a company. You come out the road, you with a company, and the rate is all right, it's decent. You're like, oh, okay, cool, I can live with that as long as it's consistent, whatever. And now, because as the market goes, that rate's gonna have to go. Like it's gonna have to go up gradually. It's almost like minimum wage in the sense to where it's like, yeah, because of the economy, it's gonna have to go up. You're just living on that, right? But then when you're in your downtime or in your off time, depending on them hours, you might broker with somebody else. Well, if they know that my company, meaning transport, is brokering with them, but then also I moonlight and I broker with somebody else on the side, they might feel some kind of way about that. They might say, hey man, you doing business over there with AC Hibachi and them? Yeah, I am. Well, hold on, man. I thought we ain't treating you right. No, that's good. It's just when I don't know, man. I don't think that's a good look, man. We might have to revisit this. What do you mean? This don't have nothing to do. I know it don't have nothing to do with your time. But they can act funny. What if I were to tell you that I think that some of this bullshit about Conor Ben going over there, because you can't piss on my head and tell me it's raining. You can't tell me that Eddie had no clue when he knew a week before. How did he know? And they were trying to say that they was going by like, who does business? Because there was no indictment on him by saying we were just doing it like on a handshake. Eddie was basically saying that him and Conor Ben was basically working out a handshake after everything that Eddie did for Conor Ben to bring him up to it. Yeah, he got his family name, but then Eddie, the same thing he did with Devin, he did with Conor Ben. He marketed him into this thing that was whatever, with the drugs and all, like the PD, adverse finding, whatever, the egg situation, all of that. He did that. You cannot tell me he didn't know he was going to go over there to Zuffa. What if that was just a bargaining chip? You can't tell me that in some way, shape, form, or fashion, you can put out to the media that, oh yeah, man, he embarrassed us, man, because he came out and announced free agency. And lo and behold, he skips out of a fight that would have been a lucrative fight for who? Golden Boy. Why? Because they had Oscar Duarte. It'd have been a title defense, the way for him to, keep his belt and all that. And ultimately, he lands on Zuffa. There's no such thing as coinky dink. These guys had figured out the same way. I heard somebody talking about it in wrestling the other day, how certain people hated certain other people or whatever, and you would never know because they went out there and they put on the show. This same shit is happening right now. These people deflecting that was over there with him going over there to Zuffa. One, you got to look at it like Turkey is the broker, because if that's the feeder system for Riyadh system post-war, whatever, if they're going to do away with the money or whatever, it's still something in that bag that he's going to sprinkle on whatever whenever he can. But he's still behind Zuffa. Isn't it odd that I was controlling and being the catalyst for a lot of the money and the deals that was going on because Eddie couldn't self-sustain it? He had already blew through the first billion when he went through $1 billion that nobody talk about, but they up PBC's ass with a flashlight. So these people defect from over there for Eddie and land over there on Zuffa, or land in purgatory where they ain't going over to the PBC. They'll turn down a fucking deal with Rolly for half and say that's a slave contract. And flirt with Zuffa or have to do business with Eddie or whatever. Either way, now it's talks that Eddie and Devin are in talks. Now they're just talks and people getting their panties all in a bunch. They getting all hot and bothered. But I said, listen, don't let them get you all hot and bothered, all worked up, and they can't hose you down. But I'm connecting the dots to where it's like this. Yeah, all right, if you're losing the Zuffa, okay. People going to feel sorry and it's going to look like, oh, I'm going up against this. So people going to ride for you and hope that you get that because they got some fighters that you got on their roster that they fuck with. A la Shakur, a la Boots. They're going to ride with you for that. Right? But then Zuffa is bending this over. Right? But either way, I believe that they're going to make it to where there's not going to be too many deals to where either one of these guys, well, Zuffa ain't going to do it, but there ain't going to be too many deals where people that's over there with Eddie are going to pretty much make a fight come to fruition with somebody from on the PBC. Why? But that would be one PBC. That would be a competition with the fledgling Zuffa. Right? Think about it. Because we got Foster and Ray Ford coming up, but guess what? That's post-merger. Think about the fights. I just told you about Bivol and Benavidez, right? Did I just tell you about Callum Smith and David Morrell? Right. Did I just tell you about Dalton Smith and Alberto Puello, who Puello with? PBC. Right. So it's like, no matter what, don't let them guys down there win. Then they got their little fledgling people who will come out and say, oh, look at these Benavidez and Zerto numbers and all this, and they ain't do, like, their whole life is about that. But I'm like, you ain't never talk about all the motherfucking money that Turkey burnt. But it's a negative connotation on David Benavidez fight. Right? Right. These guys are in cahoots. They're going to play to the camera. They're going to say whatever. Oh, I think that's terrible. Yeah, man. Conor Ben, and yeah, he's a fucking blah, blah, blah. And then you see how he's talking about Devin. You just seen what Eddie just said about Devin. So how is it that Devin... So you just knocked all the equity out your fight because you just said he's not entertaining. And listen, his market rate or whatever the fuck he said about him. Y'all know what he said about Devin. And now he's in talks with Shakur. Last time I checked, wasn't Shakur with Eddie? Turkey and them? How's that going to work? Oh, this was the plan all along? People not connecting these dots, but I do, because I'm like, why is it always some negative connotation with PBC? And how come a lot of the fights that we want to see that would have to involve somebody from across the pond and a PBC fighter, they don't make it across the finish line? And now it's going to be somebody say, oh, well, such and such foot. Okay. Such and such foot. Okay, that's two. You can't show me on a regular basis where this is actually happening. I can show you and tell you all the times where it's not happening, where they're getting in the way, they're stepping in between, or they're doing this injury thing. So, do that make sense, AC?
Yeah, and that goes to the argument we've been making for a minute, and even before I came here, I was kind of asking the questions would just tear the whole panel up, and I would just ask the question that early on. I asked the question when the Zone had their big press conference, and you saw Devin, you saw all of these fighters along with AJ. And that's when they re-signed AJ when he had on the white, what's the name? And he was supposed to originally fight Big Baby. When that whole presser thing came down and the Zone was making their announcement and all of these other type things, the issue for me was, okay, this dude is from over there. How does he make these fighters like Demetrius Andre, who was looking so proud and so happy to be on the stage and stuff like that, him and Devin looking so proud and happy. I was like, how is this gonna happen? And dude just like, why are you hating? He gonna do the same thing that you PBC fans are liking. How much money did Al come in with? And Al did this and Al, and I said, no. Why are we talking about Al when I'm asking you a question that has nothing to do with Al Heyman? I'm just asking the question, why would an American fighter who wants to be an American champ, why would they go and sign to an overseas promotional company? That part just doesn't, I don't get that part. You know what I'm saying? I could see if you're within one or two divisions where that whole entire division, all the champions are over there, and it seems to be hard to make these intercontinental fights. But I was like, these intercontinental fights are not hard to make when you even talk about what Joe Calzaghe was able to do. You know, getting a Jeff Lacey, then getting a Roy Jones and Bernard Hopkins. I mean, like, come on, bro. Like, what are we talking here? So, there've been always been Ricky Hatton fighting Floyd Mayweather. I mean, we can go back, bro. Max Schmeling, German fighter. He wasn't American. Max Schmeling was over there in Germany. Like, bro, come on. So, with that being said, I just asked that question, turned up the panel, everybody was, then it became we're gonna attack AC because AC asked the stupid question. But like I always said to them back then, I said, listen, I'm the most vindicated, bro, because I may ask the question that gets answered in time. I just notice it when it's happening in real time. And as crazy as it may seem, you may not have that insight to put all of these pieces together, but I do. So that's why I'm asking the question. How does signing with Eddie Hearn benefit an American fighter? That's the only question I'm asking. Y'all mad at the fact that I'm pointing that out. So what? He's making a bag. After that bag, what happens? You know what I'm saying? Are we going to get the fights that we're looking to get? AKA moving forward, many years after that, it's who didn't expect that Conor Benn versus Jerome Boots wasn't going to be the first fight made as soon as Boots signed to the zone. It's the thing that made the most sense. It's the thing that we were talking about before Boots went over there, when both of these guys was really at 47. When we were talking about, listen, I know he's suspended over there, but that doesn't stop him from getting a residency here, living here for a couple of months while he's training and acclimating himself, and then setting up that fight between him and Boots over here. That shit can happen in 1 year. I'm like, bro, look at what Tyson Fury did. Wow, he was suspended. Dude came over here, was buying cars at the Rolls Royce dealership, Bentleys and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, come on, bruh. Yeah, AC, but nah. Like, what? Wow. Okay. Yeah. All right. So this is when you bring stuff like that up, then you're going against the grain, and then everybody needs to swarm on you and then tell you you're being ridiculous. I don't know how you come up with that, with them talking points and stuff like that. I said, I don't know. Maybe I have critical thinking or I got Tourette's. I don't know. So with that being said, Eddie Hearn just keeps proving that, yes, he was able to do something special with Devin Haney. Excuse me 1 second. Well, yes, to say he was doing something special with Devin Haney. He got Devin Haney to a certain place, and Devin Haney was able to reap the benefits of it. He's doing a fairly decent job, I could say, with Bam. Bam is signed to him, right? For the first time I got this right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I would say he's doing a fairly decent job with Bam, but Bam is just that special talent that forces you to do it.
That's it, and that's where I was going to go. This was the question I was going to ask, because I was going to ask this, and you right on the vein of it. Who did Eddie sign from over here that wasn't going to blow up without him? Who did Eddie sign and who was not going to blow up? Like who did Eddie force to blow? Like who did he acquire from over here who he forced to blow, who wasn't going to blow if they would have signed with the right people over here anyway?
Nobody.
Right.
Nobody.
So that's why I say he was an expert at procuring American talent, building up his guys around it and building up their cachet, but then not landing the fights that we want to see them guys fight in.
Yeah. And that was that whole Conor Benn disappointment. And then to come out years later, after being asked about this, after one of Boots' fights, and Boots is sitting right there, you know what I'm saying? The questioning from this particular person was weird to me anywhere, because it was like, why are you talking about making a future fight with Boots and Ben Whitaker at 175 pounds?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why would you, where did this question come from? You know what I'm saying? So it was just like, what are we hearing here? What am I hearing? You know, and then to come out your face and say, well, you know, no, I was never going to put him in the ring, put Boots in the ring, or no, put Conor Benn in the ring with Boots. Boots never even looked up at him. Bozy never even looked up at him. So I'm just like, when I saw that, I had to pause it and then take it back and watch it a couple of times. And then there were several times I just wanted to see if they even budged from looking down at their phones. And that's what let me know pretty much everything I needed to know with Boots signing to Eddie Hearn, why Eddie Hearn signed Boots, and why there's a big difference in the way Bam is moving under Eddie Hearn than the way Boots is moving under Eddie Hearn.
Yeah, because I think that initially, and people are not gonna want to admit this, I know the peanut gallery, they're gonna get their nuts in the bunch when I say this. I think originally he signed Boots to keep him out the way. I think he signed them because he knew that it was going to be on and popping if Boots would have went over there to the PBC. He was going to have to fight and go through the ringer. So he got a piece and he could say, all right, I want my piece to fight everybody and secretly make him fight. I mean, in the track record is proving it. We got two Karens, and Karen, we wind up getting the good fights out of Karen or whatever, but nobody knew that. Nobody was asked for that. We get a Lima, we get Avanesian, which is Bud Leftovers. You know, we get all of these guys, and it's like nobody asked to see Boots fight none of these guys. But we didn't get Boots and Brian Norman. That could have been his glory. We're probably not gonna get Boots versus Jermell. We didn't get Boots versus Virgil. We getting Boots versus Xander, but Xander had to grab his nuts and do that. Regardless of what the zombies want to say, oh, he had to do this or whatever. Okay, well, if he had to, then that plays into exactly what I say, where it's like these guys, it's a bigger picture involved, and they be playing us with the stuff that they be saying. Because if it was a network thing and they put their foot on Xander's neck, even though I just seen ProBox do something on Xander having a new deal. So was that centered around that whole merger that they did where they say they want to work together or whatever? Was it centered around that, or was that part of the deal? All right, well, if we're going to do this, then we're going to have that. And that's why Boots is walking around saying we made him. It's like, well, okay, if you want to say you did, but like that was a network thing that they made happen. But either way, it goes to the bigger picture of what I was saying.
Well, those network deals were instantly revealed as soon as everybody was thinking about the fight. Those network deals were across the board, with talking about the whole Virgil and Boots situation. They both were in a pickle. They were talking about Eddie is putting on all of these cards so the Zone will re-sign Matchroom Boxing. You know what I'm saying? We were also hearing that before this part, you know, just to stay within that context, we were also hearing just between that announcement that there were the rumblings of ESPN going over to the Zone when ESPN when Top Rank lost its contract with ESPN. Top Rank was supposed to go over to the Zone. That was one of the first things people was talking about. Even in between some of the bigger people in boxing like Mike Coppinger and the people that fit in that area, they was like, well, the thing that makes the most sense is if Top Rank actually went to the Zone, because then it frees up and now it should make these other fights that we're talking about that are at least some of these cross-promotion fights, make them even easier to make. Fast forward almost a year and a half to 2 years later, that's where we are right now. Fast forward, this is what we're seeing. So the tea leaves have been rumbling, and sometimes we hear these ridiculous rumors, or we hear these rumors that then become dismissed. You know what I'm saying? Because of the new latest thing in boxing, and then the next new latest thing in boxing. But those rumors, that people would have stayed on it and followed those little breadcrumbs that those rumors were leaving, then where we are today in these contract fights that are being made because they needed to be made on the backs of, okay, we're not going to renew anybody's deal. We're not bringing you into this fold and all of this other stuff if you don't immediately show us where these fights will be easier to make contractually and actually get them over the line. Because here's the history that that this YouTuber named Bodywork just laid out, of this history of these weird injuries and fake pulling out of fights and all of this other stuff. So, boom, he laid it out. We all see it. What's really good now? Where do we go from here? At the end of the day, that leaves these guys to say, you know what? Xander versus Boots. We know the Virgil thing is done. Golden Boy is already signed to the Zone. So Top Rank just signs to the Zone. Okay, you're signed to the Zone. Xander was rumored to go after Virgil, who was already signed with the Zone. He was rumored to go. There was the real talks that were public and everything of him trying to negotiate with Virgil and Sebastian Fundora, who signed with PBC. PBC was already saying, yeah, we'll work with you, ESPN. We'll work with you. We're settling in. Amazon is, treating us well, and stuff like that. So we're not going to have any issues. I mean, Amazon's a huge platform, regardless. Amazon Prime, we have no issues. If you want to make the fight, we'll make the fight. Fundora people get weird about it. So we were looking at part of these dynamics, but some of these things just couldn't get across the line. Now that we're here, it's going to put a spotlight on Eddie and what he's actually going to do. Now, again, we have to take, our foot off of his neck for the moment and give him a lot of praise, because we're getting Boots versus Xander.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, that's a fight that answers questions. That's a fight that's very, very intriguing. That's a fight that says, okay, Xander has already made the first step. We can go back to Fundora licking off the first shots, and that's when he snatched up those 2 belts. You know what I'm saying? He got his belt, and he picks up 2 belts, pretty much almost right off the bat. He wants to defend the belts. He gets caught up in some muckiness, with Crawford and the sanctioning bodies and stuff like that. He has to drop one of the belts. He's still a WBA champion. He now wants to reclaim his throne and solidify that by trying to get the IBF champion, hopefully leading to a future undisputed fight. You know what I'm saying, with the winner of the Xander and Boots fight. So the whole dynamic is looking really, really good. The whole dynamic is looking really, really good. And it would just get crazy if somehow or another Josh Kelly was able to outbox Sebastian Fundora.
Yeah, that would be wow.
Yeah, bro. I think that's something I don't know if people are really thinking about. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, 54 just got lit. And if they could get that fight across the line between Fundora and Josh Kelly, that's gonna be a fight I'm looking at, because it has real life ramifications. So
see, I would love to think that, but we got to keep our eye on that, because we heard rumblings of it, and I haven't heard anything about it. I hadn't heard any. As important as that fight would be, and what the implications would mean, that would mean that with Boots and Xander getting it on, and with them two getting it on, that means it would only be one more fight for Undisputed. But we didn't hear after the first rumblings of how Fundora was trying. We haven't heard anything, which goes to what I'll be trying to say.
But Body,
about the PBC thing.
I'm just gonna say it like this though. At times, maybe 50-50, maybe 55-45, however the ratio may play out depending on the situation. But I kind of like when we hear the rumblings and then shit just goes dead. Like no, they're not doing this and they're not doing that, because sometimes when you hear like these weird things, like early on you heard the little rumblings of, yeah, what would be wrong with Boots versus Xander? And then people kind of talked about it for a minute, then it just completely went away over the Virgil fight. That seemed to be real. But then out of everything that happens, out of that whole situation, then wow, guess what's a reality?
Yeah.
Versus Xander. So in this case, dare I say, I want to stay on that side of the fence.
Yeah, I want to. I want to too.
I don't want to go to, skeptical Ave and chill on, I don't know, corner. I just want to stay kind of like right there and say, you know what? The mere fact that it stays silent, that kind of gives me hope that they might be seriously behind the scenes, seriously negotiating. Because if it was public, I would be like, oh man, I don't know if this fight gonna go anywhere. Because we all know once you take it to the internet, I ain't meaning somebody don't really want.
Yeah, it's what I've seen is the pattern is once the chitlin circuit get it, and it's this big thing, then like that's they trying to force the But with that, I will remain optimistic, and I do like the fact.
But you do have a legitimate point, because it's always the attack on the PBC and try to freeze the PBC out. That's why the whole thing between Earl wanting to come back, however people want to view that, could be the reason why Earl versus Sebastian Fundora never happened. Why Sebastian Fundora was stripped of the WBO belt, which makes no real sense to me on why he was stripped.
No, it don't. But I'm gonna remain optimistic. I'm just saying when I look at all these moves, and I'll throw this little one in here. Right before Xander and Boots got made, it was a rumor that Oscar and them was on the bubble because of the Virgil fight not happening. And they were saying, well, he got to do something. They got to figure this out. Or it was based on the legal proceedings or whatever. They were saying that the deal that he had, because they were trying to say that the zone wasn't going to re-up. And it might have had some legs to it, because I remember when they had picked up the Misfits and all of that, and they were saying Oscar and them was on the chopping block back then because he wasn't making them fights. And remember, he did have a history record of all them guys he had, whether it was them or whether it was him, some kind of way they wasn't getting off the pot. Like look at the Munguias, look at the Zertos, look at Virgil, and how Virgil still ain't got a title. Yeah, but now but it was rumors that if that legal thing wouldn't have went that way to where Oscar and them was in the right, that the zone wasn't going to do it. But soon as that went away and that, boom, we get that fight. So the implications is, I'm thinking these guys in a roundabout way, if you look at the chitlin circuit, I'm looking at the chitlin circuit and how they bastardize every PBC fight. They got some kind of nasty narrative that they want to smear all over it. It's just like now, it was a slave contract. 50-50. Rolly and Devin was a slave contract now. I'm like, yeah, that's a slave contract. Do you know like that's disrespectful to people that was in chattel slavery, people that was in indentured servitude. That's like 50-50 on a unification with a big fight that is going to sell for millions of dollars. That's a slave contract now. Like, So I'm going by that and how they bastardized everything with the PBC. And I'm looking at the fights where it takes somebody from Matchroom fighting somebody from PBC, and them fights are falling apart. Now we did get a reason why we got and okay, so it's legs to say that there are good fight or there are fights that could be made between Top Rank and PBC. Why? Because that's how we got the Fulton and Oshaki. So that avenue was there. You know, now we got an avenue with ESP with Top Rank and Matchroom. I'm looking specifically at just the numbers, binary of them Matchroom guys or anybody affiliated with Turkey making a viable fight with somebody from the PBC. And somehow, some way, the ones that really mean something, I ain't talking about no bullshit where they let where PBC let such and such, and then they PBC get bastardized because PBC look at all their fighters going over. It's like not all their fighters. PBC was, but it's always some kind of negative connotation. So that's what I'm looking at. Now I'm optimistic that we will get Fundor and Kelly. Why? Because for boxing that makes sense. That means, like I said before, we'll get undisputed in 3 fights. You know what I'm saying? Which is needed at 54. That right there, after Mel and with Mel coming back and with Earl, man, it'll be really, really lit if that would have happened. So they got to look at the long haul. But I wouldn't hold my breath. I'm gonna be optimistic, but I'm gonna say for your safety, your blood pressure, your family safety, and all that. Anybody listening, don't hold your breath.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Be optimistic, but don't hold your breath.
Yeah, that's the safe place to be. You know what I'm saying? Be optimistic, but don't hold your breath. That's why I was saying the ratio between when it actually happens. As of late, I would say it's been a good thing, especially when it goes, deathly quiet. But there's still a part of me that keeps saying, if that fight happens and if they can get it across the line. So there's the part of me that I'm choosing to stand right here, but my eyesight is still focused on that, on the corner and that block over there. So that's just where it is. My physical presence is right here, but my mindset is still over there. But my physical presence is right here. So hopefully they can make that fight, because then that would really, really set fire to that division. And then it's going to really, really do one of two things, I think, as a trigger mechanism of the guy who becomes undisputed. Either the Ring magazine completely ignores Mel, or they give Mel the opportunity to petition and reestablish himself as the Ring champ through fighting the undisputed champion. I know that's crazy wishful thinking, highly unlikely. But for me, if I was a savvy lawyer, or think out the box lawyer for Jamel Charlo, I kind of contact him and say, this may be an avenue we can pursue. So I think it would be smart for us also to advocate for Sebastian Fundor to fight Josh Kelly in that unification, and then the winner fights Xander.
Yeah.
While you do that, I'm going to legally put in a petition to Ring Magazine and whatever fee they may want, and see if I can get you reinstated as lineal and Ring Magazine champ. So go ahead. What was you going to say? You on mute, buddy.
Yeah, he's been given a pass, and the chilling circuit been giving Jamel a hard time, but he came out the other day and did an interview with Brian Custer, if you haven't seen it. And he male is male, and he spoke very logically. He said, listen, man, he dispelled the rumors that Eddie said. He said, man, Eddie was talking about I wanted some astronomical number and I wanted to tune up first and this and that. He's like, I didn't ask for none of that. All I said was for him to reach out or whatever. So it's like we gotta keep our eyes on that because they doing Jamel dirty, and you know all the pro buddians and all the Spence haters and all of the it's just weird right now. He got to get somebody, man, and put him on the grill and just he got to get back active, man, before they even going to acknowledge him. Because right now they act like he didn't do nothing. But if you look at how Devin treated Jose Ramirez, oh, what you mean, man? He was 2-time this and that. Like, man, his accolade, you would think he dusted Jamel boots off or something. But that's just how it is, right now. So we just gotta wait and see. Let me just do this one thing real quick because I do want to bring this home, the main point. Because I know injuries happen, and I gotta play devil's advocate to my own stuff as well. And you would say, well, Mike, why would Dalton Smith pull out because of he's gonna be at home? That's one that I thought about, and I'm saying, well, yeah, that's a big fight for him at home, and that's like if there was an American dream, but across the pond dream, a Sheffield dream, whatever you want to call it, a UK dream. Yeah, that would be it. Like, you win a title, you bring it back home, you have a more than formidable opponent, a former champion, 2-time champion at that. Yeah, you would want that. So to pull out of that, why would you do it? Well, you got to ask yourself, well, why would Frank say, I need a little extra, and he wound up getting a tank if he knew something? So I want to go over this. Because I gotta leave y'all with something. The convenient injury question. Coincidence or strategy in modern boxing? This is what we're talking about. Because I connected 3 dots. I told y'all a bigger picture how we getting messed up like in 3 different ways. Zuffa alone, Eddie and Matchroom with them got along, and then them being in cahoots, being that broker that finds out, oh, you about to do something with the BBC? Oh, well, I'm not going to let this fighter do that. It's like, yeah, that's that dirty politics that be happening behind the scene. I told y'all about that. But in this specifically, this is starting to be a reoccurring pattern with this injury stuff. And again, I'm saying if it's announced that Shakur going to fight Dalton Smith in October, you know where you heard it first. That's just, I'm saying, I ain't saying that that's what it is, but I'm just saying it would be wild. It would be wild if that happened. So remember that. Examining recent fight withdrawals. The patterns versus perception. It's not a good look for me because a week prior, I just heard him last week talk about how, well, it might have been a week before that. Within a week, the last 10 days, I seen an interview with him saying he would love to fight Shakur. And then boom, I found out what, yesterday or the day before, yesterday, I believe, day before, one of them, that he ain't fighting Puello. And I've been waiting on that fight. Business realities behind the sport. That's what we've been talking about. That's what I've been talking about this whole time. Recent high-profile withdrawals. I gave you those examples. Stevenson, Cordina, that was a hand injury. So they say. AC embellished on it. He went further into it. He dove a little deeper and questionable behavior. And nobody saying nothing. Remember, silence is consent. Callum Smith versus David Morrell. Huge fight in the grand scheme of things. People will say, oh man, who's David Morrell? And because you got people that love Benavidez, so they gotta hate David Morrell, but then he got the PBC thing, and then he got the fact that he's a threat, and people play that game or whatever, like Ben Whitaker. Oh yeah, the fact that you don't see me calling nobody out, but they calling me out, so that says everything. And Eddie saying he's a superstar, mate. I can't do it like AC, but he been building them up, but like nope. So we ain't even getting Callum Smith, which is Eddie's fighter. And then Dalton and Puello. That's a unification. I mean, no, I'm sorry. That's not a unification. That's a defense against a 2-time titleist. And that will put Puello back in the mix, who's very formidable at 40. You got to mention him, and you got to think about including Hirioka at 40. Because somebody gonna have to fight these guys. We've come to the end of the road, and I've said this is the perfect place for boxing. Now they got to make the fights, and a lot of your favorite fighters are running around scared shitless. But this is what Eddie's doing. Why this raises questions? High risk opponents. The least risk opponent probably was the Cordino versus Shakur, but you never know. You never know. I mean, he was coming off a knockout loss. I didn't like it, but maybe he learned. I don't know. Sometimes styles make fights. You don't know, but that was the least riskiest. The other two fights, Callum Smith getting obliterated by David Morrell, you giving shine to a PBC fighter. Puello knocking off, coming back, avenging that loss that he had where he got edged out on the scorecards by the judges, which I thought he won. Him coming over there and boxing Dalton Smith's off and taking that title back over to the PBC, you be giving PBC shine. This is a career-defining time. The first title defense for Dalton, it was Shakur's first sign in the matchroom, record-breaking. They say 30 days, but I think it was shit. It was already done. They just ain't make it public. And you got David Morrell and Callum Smith. That would have showed you who was who. That was a GPS fight right now for where them guys are. Is it time for Callum Smith to, like, is he going to be a bona fide gatekeeper, which you might already kind of might have been relegated to? I'm not sure, but like, he looking all right. He doing all right. People was going to look at that. People was looking at when he was scheduled to fight David Benavidez. People was thinking about it. That was a pivotal fight. And the timing of the injury. A week after you say you want to fight Shakur, you come up with an injury. The reality of boxing injuries. Constant physical damage. So this is where I check myself. I say, okay, well, yeah, injuries are you know, they occur. Hands, shoulders, ribs, rarely 100%. Rarely do boxers go into fights 100%. And again, I even play devil advocate and say, man, it might be a little far-fetched to say Dalton Smith pulled out of that fight knowing he was going to fight at home in Sheffield. Yeah, it would be. But if you know something that the public don't know and all you got to do is ride it out. Because how did Shakur come out when he pulled out of the Cordino fight? He came out with all the attention being on Zepeda, and then when Zepeda made a move, say, I'm gonna have this baby, you know what I'm saying, blah, blah, oh, he ducking me. And then when after he fought Tevin Farmer and he had got hurt, they said, oh man, look at you dodging the fight, even though Shakur had just did the same damn thing with an injury. Risk management, I talked about that earlier. Loss impacts earnings. Your marketability is at stake. If they let any one of them guys, on the right, would it be any one of them guys on the left? Matchroom would have got their shit kicked in. Promoters protect assets. I told y'all these guys are like commodities. Well, you got to manage their stocks, and perception is reality right now. And timing is strategic. The gray area. Injuries are real. So injuries are real. Decisions are strategic. Minor issue plus high risk, the fight gonna get delayed. If it's not fake, it's used strategically. So even if it's legit, you pick this time. Like when Shakur said he picked that time to go ahead, and it's like, why you pick that time to do it? But you went ahead and fought Padley. It's just like right afterward when he fought Padley and we seen him, whatever, and then they was asking about Tank. He was like, oh, my hands need to be, I got bad phalanges, I need these to heal. But then when he seen the results of Lamont and Tank, he was like, I'll fight Lamont Roach now. Strategically. Not saying there ain't no legitimacy to the injury. It's just when you decide that you're gonna sit down and not do this and not move like that, it's used strategically. Pattern of perception across all promotion. This happens with all promotional companies. I'm highlighting Eddie one because I've been wanting to make this message. I just had to connect all the dots and say, okay, how can I make all of this make sense? And I think I did a good point earlier with the bigger picture and then the 3 dots for the bigger picture. But more specifically today, with Eddie's role in this. And remember, I have a self-interest in American boxing, even though I love them all and I got favorite fighters all across the world. Visibility increases scrutiny. So with these big fights, it would have been a lot of scrutiny. People would have saw it. All these fights would have been, all eyeballs would have been on all of these fights. likely a sport-wide behavior. That's almost like promotional, you know. No proof of a conspiracy. So it's no proof of this conspiracy. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I just connected some dots and gave you something to think about. Risk management is real. Timing raises questions. Like, you know, with Schofield, all of a sudden now he remember I was telling y'all a couple weeks ago, they did videos talking about, oh man, the belts ain't, y'all see how it is. It ain't about the belts, it's about the big bag. They found out Tank getting his belt back and whatever. It's like, nah, we want Tank. Remember, you know, nah, because the belts is, it's like, yeah. The timing of you making these moves, it make y'all look real suspect. We ain't gonna cook you though. Injuries can pivot strategy. So when somebody get injured, it can change the whole game plan. Or they can use the injury as a way to get out of a fight and then book another fight. Like, look at what Richardson Hitchens did. If he would have fucked around and pulled off that Devin Haney fight, people would have been like, oh man, that was genius. Why? Because you pulled out of the fight with Duarte. And you're a duck for that. Even though you're my guy, you're a duck for that. But then you go over there to Zuffa. The only way that would have made sense was if you got Devin head on the platter, served up, or Conor Ben, or, you know, yeah, either way, that's the only way. But the fact that you didn't get that, and you might, but the fact that you didn't, business timing matters. Fights happen when risk is acceptable. Remember, I told y'all, we are in the era where all of these guys are looking for all of the advantages, more advantages than any. I'm like, man, it's getting ridiculous. How much more advantages do you want? I got to come in with a blindfold, one arm behind my back like they used to do. Sport or a chess match? It's both, y'all. It's both, man. So I wanted to highlight this and leave something in your rucksack that you can march on with, man. But this was a higher, you know what I'm saying? This was like a little bit more. We wasn't just having a fun. We had fun, but this wasn't just one of them. This was something where I'm like, man, y'all gotta stop being so gullible, and y'all gotta look at the big picture and look at what mass media and look at what the Chitlin Circuit is saying. Look at all the hate that certain individuals and certain people that belong or are affiliated with a certain organization. Look at what they're getting, but then look at how other guys get to say and move so weird. Eddie will come out and be like, yeah, Shakur, I think he's the best fighter in the world. Top, blah, blah, blah. He'll say all and do all of that, right? And then talk about his style and how he's just a defensive wizard. And, you know, it's just like a work of art. And then he'll be promoting Boots against Xander and come out and say, listen, you ain't going to have to worry about Boots coming out and trying to outpoint and outfence and be some kind of defensive wizard or whatever. He plays his role. And I'll be here for it. Putting it all together. But that's what I had on that, AC. How you want to wrap up, bro? I think we had a great show.
Yeah, definitely, man. I just wanted to wrap up by saying this. It's going to be interesting to see how the landscape of 154, how it pans out pretty much after the Xander and Boots fight. That's going to be the first. Thing. The second thing is going to be the second thing for me is looking at whatever direction Devin Haney is going to go into, Shakur Stevenson, Rolly, and just just Shakur Stevenson and what's going to happen with all the champions at 147. I'm also looking at what's going to happen at 140. You know, looking at the dynamic. What does Gary Antoine Russell come out and do next, and things like that. So for me, I'm in the space to whereas this year has the potential to be a great year in boxing. We just got this huge network merger or new signing to where it makes this one network like really the home of boxing. When it just comes down to how many fights that this network can put on a year, and just, you know, just completely changed the landscape. Um, Especially when you're talking about a streaming market and stuff like that. So with that said, the business side of boxing, these deals, and who is the business of boxing going to back when it comes to these fights and stuff like that, that can be the most interesting dynamic that we may have to like start to talk about and include in our breakdowns, and even people who talk about the betting line and stuff like that, um, because you're going to start to see that scale, or you're going to start to see maybe a little bit of somebody's finger on the scale, because there's a new dynamic that's coming into boxing that's trying to change some of the dynamics, and it wants to compete. And that's the Zuffa boxing. And Zuffa right now has already, signed 2 active champions. They signed Josh Obataya, who is a highly recognized, very, very dangerous cruiserweight fighter, has all the potential to do his thing and stuff like that. And they signed Hitchens. So he doesn't have the like foundational backing like a Obataya, but if you're a fan of the sweet science of boxing, you want to be entertained and things like that. You want to have someone who can talk they mess and sell a fight and things like that. You got that in Hitchens. So what I say, those are 2 smart signings, 2 very, very smart signings for a new company. You know what I'm saying? And that right there may entice other people to want to come over there to at least make the one fight. They may not say, you know what, we're not fighting for your belt, but your Zuffa belt. But if it's a ring fight, all day you can attract some of these big fights. No, you're fighting for the ring championship. Seriously? Yeah, we own it. Why not? Who's to say now that we own it, we can't have 2 ring champions in the same division? Who's to say that's not a possibility? So there is a huge conflict of interest when you're talking about the lineal one face, one champion. But how do you make these fights? How do you get a Devin Haney to come over there and fight Richardson Hitchens at 147? Or how do you get Hitchens to go over there being represented by them? Are you then going to downplay your role and only say we're coming in as his promotional company? None of our belts are on the line for this fight. We're just promoting him. That's within the scope of what we can do. And that might change the dynamic of where Zuffa may find its leverage to actually challenge regular boxing, which then regular boxing is going to have to do something drastic. And then it's going to say, all right, are we going to put our finger on the scales and start, creating these champions that everyone can talk about and everyone can get behind and things like that? Guys out there legitimately knocking somebody out, and he faced some tough competition. Now he doesn't have to do it because the business of boxing is behind him. And that can easily happen for Xander and or Boots with the victory of this fight. Both of these guys can go into 2 weird ass directions because now they know they got the business of boxing behind them. And they put their stake in the ground by having that fight. So then at the end of the day, that could put the whole talk of undisputed at 54, like, why would he do it? He's already got the business behind him. Sorry, Fundora, you never got the business of boxing behind you. You know what I'm saying? Yes, people will say you're the number 1 guy right now at 154, but are you marketable, or do you bring what Boots or Xander brings? So that's where it gets whatever. Yeah, Fundora, we like the whole Fundora thing, but We don't like you. We actually like your sister. The same thing that happened to Venus and Serena Williams. They moved out the sister who got him there and then said, nope, little sis, because she's just more angry. Like, oh, that anger we can sell, that passion we can sell. You're just talented. And the minute you lose, we're going to definitely kick your ass out. And that's what they did. And Lil Sis ran with it. So these are dynamics that you can look at, ask the question, and then say, is there something there that says can give legitimacy without finding some weird, just Googling something and finding that type of confirmation? Is there a real life example to that? Yes, I can point out plenty. So boxing is about to change and change in a big way. And, you know, Eddie's going to be Eddie. So Eddie's going to have all the room in the world to continue what he's doing. And it's just going to be acceptable because the perception is the reality. All Boots has to do, all Shakur has to do if they win a big fight is perceive that they're looking to make big fights. Look at Clarissa Shields right now. She's running around just calling out anybody and everybody. No. Bring 60-year-old, Layla Ali back out. Bring 100-year-old. That broad that fought 100 years ago. How about that kickboxer chick? What was her name? The first black kick. Bring her old ass out. So that's just the way it's gonna go. The showmanship, people are calling it, the WWE era, and we're at the front door. And that's where I land my plane, bro. Great show. Leaves a lot of questions. Hopefully people are opening their third eye to boxing, and it's still so much to enjoy about the sport. You don't have to get caught up in some of these nuances. That's what we're here for. You know what I'm saying? But we're telling you this other side of it, but we're also telling you, please enjoy the sport. We're not shitting on the sport. The sport is a beautiful thing. Boxing, like, look at what we do. Look at how many boxing channels that are out there. So boxing is what it is. It's a love affair. And within that love affair, you love some fighters, you hate some fighters. It's a whole bunch of stuff. Like, can't nobody tell me, you can tell me a bunch of positive stuff about Fundora, but I'll still tell you, well, I don't like him. I don't know what it is about him, but I don't like him. But I'm going to give him his respect. I'm going to talk about him the way he deserves to be talked about. You know what I'm saying? But the minute that dude do something I really don't like, and everybody else, I'm going to go, nah, see, that's why I told you. He should have never been boxing in the first place. No, I'm joking with y'all on that one, but that's just my reality. I still love the sport. I can pick out many things that are weird about it, but it's not the sport of boxing, it's the people involved. So it's those individuals that I focus on. Your behavior. And if I'm calling out your behavior because I think it's going to affect the sport, and if I'm calling out media people because you're co-signing this new wacky era in boxing, and at the end of the day, we see it, that means it's a reality. It might be deeper than what we actually think it is. This whole thing that we're talking about, we may already be so deep in it. We are right now the frog in a pot of boiling water. We don't even know, but we're sensing that, hey, wait a minute. Something really ain't right here. Everybody else has already accepted it. We're the ones sitting in the Matrix talking to Agent Smith like, I know this is not a steak, but it tastes so damn good. I know the reality, but I'm not going to feed into it just yet. But god damn, this steak is like, bruh, I'm eating slop in reality, but this steak, you know what I'm saying? So we'll be the ones that try to keep your eye open, try to tell everybody Zion does exist. You know what I'm saying? But we're already in the era that we just have to stay afloat. And if you want that lighthouse that just keeps shining a light to let you know, hey, that the real direction is right here. This will allow you to stay loving the sport and not really lose your whole mind, because we lose our mind when we see stuff and we talk about it behind the scenes, and then we come up here and just try to be rational. And that's where I land that plane, body.
Word. Good cook, man. Great cook, actually, man. A lot to think about. Cerebral, man. It's just witnessing patterns, but I appreciate, man, your contributions, man. Hope you enjoy your evening, man. We'll catch up.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, brother. Got another good one in the books, y'all. And I want to say a couple things. I want to say that one, Tim Bradley already alluded to it. They be saying a broken clock is right twice a day. And I think that's Tim sometimes. Tim came to the conclusion last year, and it's ironic because I talked about him early in the shenanigans. He was talking about advocating that Shakur Stevenson was just too small, right? Well, he alluded to it. He's like, man, maybe, he said, they got these guys from Zuffa, they got some geniuses and this, and you got to think, these entertainment companies and blah, blah, this and that, man. He's like, are we into something that we really don't realize what AC was talking about? It's something I've already come to realize. You gotta think, man, this is a sport of boxing, but it's entertainment. That Jake Paul stuff that happened, and you know how it's starting to become more of a performance, more of a show, more of a big picture, more of a in the vein of entertainment. So they got all this, because thinking about who's streaming it, these people are used to people seeing content online and being entertained. Well, they picked up the sport of boxing to be in that lane. This is why we're seeing something. This is why you can get somebody like Conor Ben and advertise him like he's the second coming of Muhammad Ali. And people are like, yeah, man, because I want to see Conor Ben versus, and he ain't did nothing. Yet they were just roasting Ryan pre-Mario Barrios, and he never had a shot. And I compared them to. Before Ryan, right when Ryan was going into that Mario Barrios, I said him and Conor Ben are like the same thing. You could say the UK, Conor Ben was the UK Ryan Garcia, the American Conor Ben, prior to the Mario Barrios. So when you look at entertainment, the powers that be, and the people like that Plinko game I talked about earlier, where the checks are coming from, what do they have slated and docketed for you? How are they moving? How are they controlling this chessboard? Because they're all pieces. I used to dig real deep, and then I noticed that, yeah, I'm messing with somebody's chess piece. You know what I'm saying? That might not be good for little old me. Just food for thought. That's what Tim said. Zuffa, they're getting the benefit of the doubt with this makeshift promotional company stuff. Because it's like, I understand, all right, cool, that'll be a compromise. But if you were going to become a promotional company to do this, then why do you want to change the Muhammad Ali Act? Why do you want to reform it? And if you do, does that apply? I don't think they can at the same time. So I'm not going to give, it's just like, you know, what AC was talking about, how these people get the benefit of the doubt of wanting to fight or wanting to make these big fights, and they get the benefit of the doubt all the time. Just like with all this linguini that we had got with these two right here. We gave them the benefit of the doubt. All these names they called. Keyshawn ain't fight, not their name on there. Devin ain't fought, not their name on his side. And Keyshawn, he at least got a fight on the books. And it got a little, you know, it got a little pizzazz to it because it's history with him and IR, right? People are not kicking and screaming about it, but people are not jumping for joy either. They just want to see, like, Keyshawn fan want to see him knocked out. But these guys get the benefit of the doubt when they say whatever name that is believable and this and that, largely based on their last performance. And they keep doing this to us. But what happened? We didn't get none of them names. All them names, all of them acting, all of that stuff. So is Zuffa going to be a makeshift promotional company? Meh. But they're gonna have to prove it. I'm not giving them the benefit of the doubt. They're gonna have to, just like these boxers. When you first see a boxer, you can't just jump all on the nut. You can say, "Hey, he got talent, but I gotta see him fight somebody." Does he always have the advantages? Does he always have the height, the reach, more active, the higher IQ? You know, more power, more speed, like, you know, higher boxing IQ, like. And as you see them overcoming them obstacles, then you start saying, you know what, I got love for him. It was the same way with pro box for me. At first, I was like, man, what is pro box? I didn't understand it. Then I did my research and I said, oh, that's the IV that boxing needed. Boxing needed pro boxing. They're lit. But if Zuffa was going to become a promotional company, then why didn't you do that at the onset? Oh, you didn't believe fat meat be greasy, so you saw which way it was going, and now you want to act like a makeshift promotional company. I'm not giving them credit for none of that until I see them act as a promotional company and do business with somebody outside of Zuffa, and it goes off without a hit. Until then, you don't get no benefit of the doubt. You got to pick yourself up by the bootstrap, just like Pro Box did. You know what I'm saying? We got to get past that, man. Why? Because the people that earn it, people like Tank Davis and everything he did, he still don't get the benefit of the doubt. Ain't nobody running around, Tim Bradley ain't running around talking about how small he is and using that as an argument to support him. No, he find any reason to downgrade the dude, but then run around saying all that bullshit about Shakur and how small and little he is. Well, if he's so small and little, then what's the problem with O'Shaquie Foster? What's the problem with Abdullah Mason? What's the problem with him going back down to 35 prior to him getting that strap at 40 like he said he would? Because everybody's compromised. An interesting tidbit, man, I want to give y'all before I actually wrap up is that Nakatani is a plus 380 against Naoya Inoue, which it says a lot about Naoya Inoue, but almost 4 times the amount back for something that might, you know, could, like a punch could land, because they saying he's a southpaw, he's taller, you know, longer reach, he do got power. He's definitely offensively gifted. I think he got some holes on his defense that Inoue can exploit, but we've been seeing Inoue get touched. I'm not saying Inoue gonna lose, but a plus 380 for Nakatani? That's pretty interesting. That's a betting odd that I saw. I was going to incorporate it in the housekeeping, but I was like, nah, because I like Inoue. I always have. When Fulton and them in this camp and everybody up there was saying, oh, he's a hype job. The same way people said Xander is a hype job. Oh, he's a hype job. He's a hype job. I was like, well, what's going to happen if you get knocked out by a hype job? And what happened? He wound up getting knocked out by he wasn't a hype job. So, you know what I'm saying? When I say that this Xander fight is a lot closer, I'm not saying, I don't see Xander knocking Boots out in no way. I just don't see him knocking him out like I did. Yeah. It's closer to 50-50 than everybody's leading on to believe, you know, everybody to believe. But anyways, man, these are the times where I would have normally like took a step away from boxing and said, you know what, it's getting too crazy for me. But there are enough fights on the docket that's going to keep me happy and excited. It is fight week. El Monstro is getting ready, you know, fight this weekend. You know, I'm up for it. I'm excited for him for it. And we got O'Shaquie. O'Shaquie just did an interview over there on Cigar Talk. I caught the meaty portion of it, right? Because it came on right before I went live, man. And O'Shaquie, he's one of my favorite fighters now, man. He's been, I have my eyes on him. I'll say I'm a fan, but he's definitely moved up into one of my favorite fighters. I got my top 3 favorite fighters. They're not all active, but like O'Shaquie has moved into the realm of being one of my favorite fighters. I like how he carried himself. I like his character. I like how real he was. Go back and look at that interview by Cigar Talk. Very good interview. You know, it's always going to be, whenever you're dealing with somebody that loves Shakur the way Cigar Talk loves, you just got to eat the fish and spit out the bones. But the same way he handled himself when he was over there with Cam and Mace, when he went over there with Gilly and Wallow, he did the same thing over there with Cigar Talk. And they all was pulling and still going to be pulling for Shakur. It's more Shakur Talk than it is Ray Ford Talk. And all of a sudden, Ray Ford is a 50-50 fight. I'm like, based on what? He has not fought anybody, I know what people are gonna say. Didn't Bud prove that resumes don't blah blah? It's like, yeah, but Bud might be the exception, not the rule, man. It's a good fight. It's a good matchup, but like to say that that's 50-50, it's not. I don't think it's 50-50. On paper, it shouldn't be 50-50. Based on accolades, and the same reason why people were saying it wasn't 50-50 for Shakur and Tio. What was that based on? Accolades, right? Accomplishments, right? Was that based on resume though? No, because Teofimo Lopez had fought the tougher, stiffer competition than Shakur Stevenson. So when it came down to the fighting the tougher, stiffer competition and what you were able to do, O'Shaquie got that hands down. We seen Ray Ford. I was at the fight when Ray Ford fought Matisse. He wins, wash, and repeat. He didn't step on the gas. He didn't step on that dude, but we actually just saw O'Shaquie Foster step on Stephen Fulton, a guy who has beaten many champions and had the experience of Inoue we just talked about. It's not, on paper, it's not even a 50-50 fight. It's going to be a good fight because Ray Ford he's more than a puncher's chance, and he got real skills. And like O'Shaquie, without stealing any of that thunder from that interview, he said, man, you assembling the Avengers to try to beat me. Which is true, but this is the state of boxing. Hopefully today you was able to put something in your rucksack and march on with. It's a love-hate relationship with Eddie, man. I think Eddie is a good guy overall, but in my selfish U.S. American boxing interest, meh. We gotta get off of him, like AC said, because because of getting this fight, with Xander, and getting Boots a fight, because we kept saying, man, we want to see, Boots fight some competition. We want to see him, and so we're finally getting that. So this wasn't a total roast of Eddie. I just wanted to put something on your mind. Silence is consent, meaning that all it takes for evil to prevail is for men and women to remain silent. So we speak to the things that need to be spoken to in the sport of boxing. We say, go listen to all them guys and then come over and see what we got to say. Maybe we'll put something on your mind and have you thinking different. I'm not sure. Fruits and veggies, not that Reggie. Fact-based content, not opinion-based. Even though we have opinions. They're not always right, but we do draw lines in the sand, and we don't flip and we don't flop. We just let the beat build for a little bit. We let boxing breathe for a little bit. And it makes the episodes a little bit better because we're not the most frequent. We're not going to be first, but we do try to be the most thorough. I only need a couple more subscribers for my next goal. I need 6 more subscribers. We did hit our last goal. We did cross the threshold with the 300, and we're growing. So hype the videos, like the videos. We are monetized. Support the channel. It takes work to actually come up with these things. Get off the beaten path. Be original. Don't copy and paste, and put something on your mind. And also be bold enough and put energy into something that people might not see. Because this is the last thing I'm gonna say. You can't be thinking that because somebody has small numbers on their channel that they're not on their A game. You know why? Because YouTube, depending on especially the things I talk about, YouTube would cap me out. And I know when they cap me out, like it'll let it get to 100 and then dead stop it right at 100. It'll let it get to 50 and then dead stop it. It won't be not one more view. I know that they're, and I've seen other channels. There's a guy named Crank Lucas. He do music and he do imitations of rappers and all that. He was just talking about it, like why YouTube hides this video. So you can't compare this channel to another channel thinking that, this only got 36 views. A lot of times YouTube be messing with them. I'm not complaining though. My market is my market. I'm the Lloyd Banks of this shit. So I'm not trying to be the Drake of this shit. We just doing what it takes to like keep people's eyes and ears open, and try to walk that straight line with this boxing, man, and be reasonable. Because these guys get hit in the head for a living. Something gotta be wrong with it because we all are boxing fans. So don't get distracted by the numbers, because ratio-wise, the amount of views that this channel get compared to the number of subscribers and things like that, like the click rates, impressions and all that, number-wise, ratio-wise, killing the game. The algorithm, YouTube just don't push out certain things. We catch a little traction depending on if we get close to what the beaten path or have a name that might be, linked in. We'll probably get, a whole bunch of views and all that, but that's not what this channel is based for. It's based for quality product. Not just It's not McDonald's. It's not 7-Eleven. It's like a novelty bookstore. You know what I'm saying? Where you get something special every time. Y'all know I can talk that boxing talk all day and all night. Y'all know that, right? Anyways, thanks for choosing Bodywork Boxing. But we don't take things for face value. We do that body work.
He didn't want to box. He wanted to actually prove that he could punch with you. He was like, what the fuck is this nigga, right? Oh, okay, you want to go to sleep. You tired.
Welcome to Bodywork.